Chapter 377. Hello. Huamin's tone was very distant, as if he was talking to a stranger. Why are you here? Aren't you working at Southside? Oh, I'm off today, so I came to see everyone. How are things over there? Very good. I heard you were promoted to the chairman of the Hua Foundation. I'm so jealous. There's nothing to be jealous of, it's just a job, just in name. You're really good. I believe that one day you will become an outstanding doctor. Ning Ziyuan knew that Huamin's dream was to be a doctor, not a nurse, when they were in university. You must be joking. I'm satisfied with being a head nurse. Why would I want to be a doctor? Oh right, I have to go now. Wait, Mian. Ning Ziyuan obviously didn't want Huamin to leave. Is there anything else? Dr. Ning. My parents came a few days ago and brought me a lot of free-range eggs. They said they were going to give you half of them, but I haven't had the chance to see you. Give me your address, I'll mail them to you later. It's okay, eggs are fragile, they'll break if you mail them. Dr. Wu is pregnant, you can keep them for her. Thank your parents for their kindness for me. Huamin smiled and nodded, then left gracefully. Right now, Ning Ziyuan was like a stranger to her. She didn't care about him at all. So, Ning Ziyuan was right when he said that Huamin never loved him. If he did, he wouldn't be able to face it so easily. When they walked out of the hospital, Huamin happened to have nothing to do, so he drove straight to the university. Unfortunately, Jixin was hiking with his friends, so he wasn't at school. On the way back, Zhu Lingling called. While the two chatted, Huamin told Zhu Lingling everything that happened at the hospital. If Ning Ziyuan knows that you're doing well, he'll definitely be jealous. Stay away from him later. That can't be. We broke up peacefully. Isn't there a saying on the internet that goes, as long as you're well, everything will be fine? Wrong, that's 100 years old. Big sister, what's popular now is that if you're well, that's great, Huamin. Okay, you win. Huamin was speechless at Zhu Lingling's new words. So, if Ning Ziyuan finds out that you have money, power, and a handsome husband, he will definitely be jealous to death. When the time comes, he might use some dirty tricks behind your back. You really don't think too much. Wrong. It's not that I don't think too much. I just don't want to think of people as bad people, Huamin explained with a smile. By the way, did you bring Gao Ran back? No. Ha, you're really stubborn and willful. I can't be bothered with that stupid cop. I'll just let him lie quietly on my blacklist, Zhu Lingling said proudly. That night, at a bar in the city, Ning Ziyuan drove straight to the bar after work. He didn't go home. Ever since he separated from Wu Xiaoxue, he had gotten used to it. Even when he went home, he was always faced with that cold face. When He-Man saw Ning Ziyuan walk in, she immediately went up to him. Doctor, you're early today. I got off work early. Let's go dance. Without waiting for Ning Ziyuan to finish speaking, He-Man pulled him by the arm and led him to the dance floor. Red lights, green lights, and deafening music. Ning Ziyuan suddenly realized that he actually liked this kind of intoxicating life. Qin Chu went back to the old mansion for dinner, while Huamin was bored and watching TV with a mask on his face. Suddenly, his phone rang. Hello. Huamin, it's me, Wu Xiaoxue. Can you come to my house? I'm not feeling well. Wu Xiaoxue's voice was very weak. Chapter 378. It took Huamin 23 minutes to drive to Wu Xiaoxue's place. It was a high-end neighborhood. Apparently, the Wu family paid for the house and renovations. Huamin knocked on the door, and it took a while for Wu Xiaoxue to open the door. Huamin's heart sank when he saw her, Wu Xiaoxue's face was pale, and there were bloodstains under her white nightgown. What's wrong? Huamin supported Wu Xiaoxue, who was weak. My stomach doesn't feel well, and I don't have any strength. Can you take me to South Side? South Side? Why not the first hospital? They have better medical equipment there. Huamin was surprised. Wu Xiaoxue shook her head. I don't want my colleagues to know about my condition. Please, Huamin. Seeing Wu Xiaoxue's pleading eyes, Huamin finally gave in. He helped her downstairs and drove her to South Side. South Side's facilities were advanced, but the medical team wasn't as good as the first hospitals. After all, it was a place for recuperation. It's late, and there aren't any good gynecologists on duty. If you don't mind, I can examine you. Is that okay? Yes, thank you. Wu Xiaoxue nodded. She didn't doubt Huamin's medical skills at all. Huamin observed Wu Xiaoxue's condition as he drove. He was also a bit worried. He knew that Wu Xiaoxue was arrogant and didn't have many friends. She wouldn't call anyone for help, let alone tell her parents. However, as her husband, where did Ning Ziyuan go? Shouldn't he be with her at a time like this? Dr. Wu, your husband. He's fooling around with He-Man at a nightclub, Wu Xiaoxue said as she held her stomach in pain. Huamin didn't say anything. He-Man just sent me an MMS to show off. Unfortunately, I don't care anymore. I won't be as stupid as before. After saying that, Wu Xiaoxue turned on her phone and opened a photo. Huamin glanced over. Sure enough, it was He-Man and Ning Ziyuan. They looked very intimate, as if they were dancing. Dr. Wu, should we inform President Wu? Huamin asked, feeling uncertain. No, if my uncle knows, my parents will definitely know. I don't want them to worry about me anymore. Back then, they didn't agree to me marrying Ning Ziyuan. Now that I've chosen this path, I have to finish it even if I have to kneel down, Wu Xiaoxue said, gritting her teeth. Wu Xiaoxue's character was a typical Liu girl. She was strong, domineering, and wanted to be first in everything she did. This kind of life was actually very tiring. At this moment, Huamin no longer had any prejudice against Wu Xiaoxue. Instead, he felt sympathy and pity for her. Seeing how depressed Wu Xiaoxue was, Huamin didn't say anything else. Southside Recuperation Center head nurse, why are you here? The nurse on duty was surprised to see Huamin. I'm here to bring a friend for a checkup. You guys can go back to work. After speaking, Huamin helped Wu Xiaoxue up to the OB/GYN department on the top floor. Huamin first ran an ultrasound on her, then, he drew her blood and sent it to the lab so that his colleagues could rush out the results. Finally, he laid her down on the hospital bed and listened to her fetal heartbeat and electrocardiogram. How is it? Huamin. You might be too agitated and emotionally unstable. That's why your blood pressure is high and your heart rate is a bit fast. The fetus isn't very stable either, and there's something wrong with the fetus breathing rate. Plus, there's blood, there are signs that you're going to have a miscarriage. Huamin didn't have the heart to announce the results, but in the end, he still announced the results. When Wu Xiaoxue heard this, her face turned green. Chapter 379. Miscarriage. Wu Xiaoxue couldn't believe it. Emichim, your progesterone level is very low right now, it's very dangerous. Then I'll just inject it. Wu Xiaoxue was an OB/GYN, so she naturally knew how to protect the baby. But, is there anything else? Wu Xiaoxue had a bad feeling when she saw Huamin's hesitation. You're almost 5 months pregnant. I did a Down syndrome test for you, and the results show. Huamin crossed his arms, looking conflicted. How is it? Is it high risk? Wu Xiaoxue asked nervously. Yes, it's high risk. Huamin nodded. Wu Xiaoxue's heart sank to the bottom when she heard this. Not only was she facing signs of a miscarriage, but the baby was also at high risk. What did this mean? It meant that there was a high chance that the baby was deformed. How was that possible? Wu Xiaoxue thought that she and Ning Ziyuan were both young, and they didn't have any bad habits. Ning Ziyuan occasionally drank alcohol and rarely smoked. How could she be at high risk? Wu Xiaoxue had always wanted to do a Down syndrome test, but when she thought about how young she was and how she wasn't an advanced pregnant woman, she didn't think there would be any problems. Plus, she was busy with work, so she delayed it. If Huamin didn't do it for her today, she wouldn't have known. Oh my God, what should I do? Wu Xiaoxue's tears flowed down uncontrollably, and she panicked. Although she and Ning Ziyuan were in a cold war, she still loved the baby very much. The baby was innocent, and she had worked so hard to keep it. Was she going to have an accident now? Don't worry, we'll solve the problems one by one. The signs of a miscarriage aren't very serious, so we'll inject it first to protect the baby. Calm down, your mentality is very important right now. Don't be nervous or depressed, Huamin comforted her. So what if we keep it? If it's a deformed baby, we might as well induce labor now. Wu Xiaoxue's voice was hoarse, and she almost couldn't speak. Any woman would not be able to bear such a situation, let alone Wu Xiaoxue. You are now 5 months pregnant. The fetus's hands and feet are already fully developed. If you induce labor, not only will you lose a little life, but your body will also be damaged. You are also a doctor. There are many things that I don't need to tell you. You should understand it yourself. Huamin, what should I do now? I really want this daughter of mine. I really like her. Wu Xiaoxue grabbed Huamian's hand and burst into tears. Because Wu Xiaoxue had done an ultrasound when she was 4 months pregnant, she found out the baby's gender. Although it was a girl, she wasn't unhappy because she was a girl. Instead, she was very excited and bought many beautiful dresses for her unborn daughter. Now that the child was facing a high risk of miscarriage, Wu Xiaoxue felt as if the sky had collapsed. Dr. Wu, calm down and listen to me, okay? Chapter 380. Yeah, I need to go to Jing City. I can't let my imagination run wild. Wu Xiaoxue was so nervous that she lost her ability to think. After hearing Huamin's words, she calmed down a lot. Take an injection every day for the next few days to protect the baby. You also need to pay attention to your diet. Also, don't go to work for the next few days. Take a leave of absence and stay at home to protect the baby. Once you've recovered, you can go to Jing City. Is that okay? Okay. Wu Xiaoxue nodded in agreement with Huamin's suggestion. It was already 12:30 p.m. when Huamian finished her checkup last night. Huamin drove Wu Xiaoxue home and then left. When she got home, it was almost 1 p.m. Exhausted, she went into the bathroom and took a hot shower. When she came out, she saw that Wu Xiaoxue had sent a text. Thank you, Huamin. I'm glad you're here with me today. Huamin smiled but didn't reply. It was too late, and he didn't want to disturb Wu Xiaoxue's rest. Wu Xiaoxue didn't want her colleagues to know about this, nor did she want to go to the first hospital. Huamin could understand her. After all, she was a prideful person. At 1:30 a.m., Huamin packed up and was about to go to bed when she heard the sound of a key unlocking the door. She immediately got up and hid behind the bedroom door, ready to trick Qin Chu. Sure enough, after a while, Qin Chu went upstairs and entered his bedroom. Hi! Huamin suddenly jumped out and hugged Qin Chu's waist from behind. However, Mr. Qin didn't react at all. He turned around, picked up Huamin, and spun him around in the air. Why aren't you scared? Huamin pouted and asked. Because I know you're home. Your shoes are at the door this morning. When I was downstairs, I saw that the light in your bedroom was still on. Okay, Mr. Holmes, you're the only one who knows how to reason, right? How boring. Huamin thought that Chin Chu was too smart, so she wasn't even surprised. Why aren't you asleep yet? Chin Chu thought that Huamin was already asleep. Yeah, I just came back from the hospital. Aren't you off today? Why did you go to the hospital? Chin Chu remembered Huamin's schedule. Then, Huamin briefly to Huamin to explain what happened. So, you took Ning Ziyuan's wife to the hospital? Ahem. I don't care about her because she's Ning Ziyuan's wife. Huamian nervously tried to explain, but Chin Chu smiled and patted her head. I know, I'm just kidding, to go to the hospital. To Hua, go take a shower and go to bed, it's too tiring. To be honest, seeing Chin Chu wake up so early in the morning, Huamin's heart ached. Don't worry, I have a video conference to attend. You go to bed first. Chin Chu kissed Huamin's forehead and walked into the study room. He turned on his laptop. Huamin made a cup of hot coffee and brought it to Huamin. Chapter 381. Yes. Where are we going? It's a secret, Chin Chu said in all seriousness. Huamin, okay, I don't think we'll be able to go anywhere in 3 days. Huamin actually wanted to go to the Maldives, but it was too far away. It would take 4 days just to get there, and if they were to play, it would take them at least 10 days to get back. For her and Chin Chu, 10 days of vacation was too extravagant and unrealistic. Chin Chu was being mysterious and refused to tell her, and Huamin didn't ask either. After breakfast, she prepared to go upstairs. Where are you going? I'm going to pack my stuff. I'm bringing sunscreen, clothes, and personal items. Oh yeah, do you want to bring a tent? Are we going to the beach or the mountains? Chin Chu looked helpless. You don't have to bring anything when we come back, just bring me. Huamin nodded. Okay, I'll bring you, and you bring money. Chin Chu, okay. Chin Chu didn't know when his wife became so talkative. She probably learned it from that shrew, Zhu Lingling. Her words were a little funny sometimes, okay? After breakfast, Chin Chu held Huamin's hand and left the house. Although they didn't bring anything, the two of them had changed into casual clothes. They were dressed in dark gray from an outdoor luxury brand. The style was very nice, and it was the same for both men and women. It seemed like it was really planned. Chin Chu even changed his car and put his Maybach in the garage. He was driving a black Range Rover. Huamin was still in a daze when they got on the highway. Where are we going? Are you going to sell me? No, if I sell you, I won't have a wife, Chin Chu said in all seriousness. Huamin was in a great mood. She took out her phone, opened her WeChat friend circle, and posted a short video on the road. Then, she wrote, a trip that ended abruptly. It was indeed an abrupt trip, because there was no prior planning or forewarning. She was dragged away by Chin Chu all of a sudden and was forced to take 3 days off on her behalf by Chin Chu. Zhu Lingling immediately commented, going out to play and not calling me. Bad review. I'm going with Mr. Chin. Are you sure you want to come? Then forget it. I don't want to be a third wheel. Ah, that's why. I didn't call you. Where are you going? Are you coming back that day? I don't know where we're going. Mr. Chin doesn't want to tell me. He's being mysterious. It's a 3-day trip. 3 days. Alright, you're really too willful. Have a nice trip. Zhu Lingling said enviously. Ioyo, where did you go? Gao Ran commented. I don't know where we're going. Mr. Qin didn't want to tell me, so I just followed him. You're torturing us single dogs to death. You two have such a good life, TSK, do you want to come along? It's fine. I don't want to be a third wheel. Gao Ran agreed with Zhu Lingling. If you come with Lingling, then you won't be a third wheel. Huamin teased him on purpose. Zhu Lingling is going too. Gao Ran was obviously interested. You can ask her, sis, I'm still on her blacklist. Gao Ran looked helpless. Then you can go to her house and block her. She can run away, but the temple can't, Huamin suggested. Hey, you don't say. That's a good idea. No wonder Qin Chu said you're smart. You're indeed better than us. Gao Ran exclaimed. Huamin couldn't help but chuckle, what's making you laugh so happily? Qin Chu couldn't help but ask. Chapter 382. I was flirting with Comrade Zhu Lingling and Comrade Gao Ran. Are the two of them still at odds? Qin Chu had never been interested in other people's business, but he was speechless at how Gao Ran and Zhu Lingling got along. You think they're fighting too? Huamin chuckled. What else? Okay, we'll think the same thing. But I don't think it'll take long for this to be resolved. Miss Zhu Lingling won't be able to hold it in. Qin Chu smirked and didn't say anything. They drove on the highway for 5 hours. It was really far. During this time, Huamin kept asking if he wanted to drive for a while, but Qin Chu refused. With his wife by his side, he wasn't sleepy at all. Even the scenery along the way was more beautiful than usual. 5 hours later, Qin Chu turned off the highway and drove into the depths of the mountains. When they arrived, Huamin realized that this was the famous sacred mountain in the north, Yunding Mountain. Yunding Mountain was located at the northern edge of the border with Country E and Country C. This was the border between the three countries. Hence, it was called One Look at the Three Countries. Huamin had wanted to come to Yunding Mountain for a long time because it was said that the scenery was beautiful. However, the road was difficult and it wasn't very safe, so she gave up. She didn't expect Qin Chu to bring her here. Looking at the majestic mountains in front of her, Huamin's heart was deeply shaken. If you didn't see it with your own eyes, you would never know how magical and magnificent nature's uncanny workmanship was. Yunding Mountain is really beautiful. The continuous mountain range is really magical, Huamin exclaimed. The two of them parked the car in front of the parking lot of a super luxurious 5-star hotel and got out of the car. Huamin looked up at the name of the hotel, Golden Palm International Resort and Spa. At first glance, one could tell that it was a high-class name. The building was also magnificent and magnificent. The Chinese style mixed with Russian style made people's eyes light up. Qin Chu held Huamin's hand and walked in. The doorman carefully opened the door for them. Front desk, would you like to check in? Yes. Sir, which room would you like to stay in? Have you made a reservation? I don't have a reservation. I want the presidential suite, Qin Chu answered proudly. Yes, sir. The presidential suite is available now. How many nights would you like to stay? 2 nights. Okay, please show me your ID cards, the waitress said politely. Qin Chu slowly opened his wallet and handed over his ID. The waitress took it and glanced at it. She was dumbfounded. Chairman Qin. What the waitress said alarmed the other 3 receptionists. They looked at the ID card and then looked at Qin Chu. Finally, they took out their luggage. Hello, President Qin. What's going on? This time, it was Huamin's turn to be dumbfounded. I'm here on vacation. You don't have to be so formal. Okay, President Qin. Your room is ready. Just take the elevator to the top floor. Thank you. Qin Chu took the room card and held Huamin's hand. Hey. Honey, we haven't paid yet. It's our own business. Why do we have to pay? Qin Chu asked, amused. Our own business. Huamin didn't know how to react. 2 months ago, GK spent 3.9 billion yuan to buy the Golden Palm International Resort and the expansion of Yunding Mountain. So, from now on, this resort belongs to GK. Wow, that's so capricious. Although Huamin knew that GK was rich, he was still shocked. 3.9 billion yuan. After all, it wasn't as easy as buying groceries at the market. Qin Chu took the room card and went up to the 18th floor. It was more than 300 square meters and had a great view. The windows were all made of tempered glass and were completely transparent. There weren't any other buildings around, so the privacy was top-notch. After opening one of the windows, Huamin closed his eyes and breathed in the fresh air. He exclaimed, "The air quality here is amazing." Qin Chu took off his jacket and walked over. He carefully wrapped his arms around Huamin's waist and rested his chin on Huamin's shoulder. "Do you like it here?" His tone was extremely gentle. Chapter 383. Yes, I like it a lot. Huamin opened her eyes and leaned into Qin Chu's arms, looking at the endless mountains in the distance. The holidays are a little short this time, so I came here to relax. When you have time for your annual vacation, I'll take you to the Maldives. Okay, Huamin nodded happily. Just then, the internal phone rang. Hello. Okay, got it. Let's go eat. Then, the two of them went downstairs to the 15th floor. There was a high-end Western restaurant on the 15th floor. After Huamin entered, she was surprised to find that there were only the two of them in the huge revolving restaurant. Why are there so few customers? Just the two of us. Huamin was confused. The hotel's CEO probably ordered them to clear the place, Qin Chu guessed. Sure enough, as soon as the two of them sat down, a slightly plump middle-aged man in his 40s walked over. He was wearing a high-end suit. He walked up to Qin Chu and bowed slightly. President Qin, why didn't you tell me you were coming? I could have picked you up. I decided on the spur of the moment. Is this your friend? The hotel's CEO asked politely. No, she's my wife, Qin Chu replied. The hotel CEO was slightly surprised at first, but then he immediately bowed. A young lady, nice to meet you. Nice to meet you, Huamin nodded in response. President Qin, a young lady, lunch has been prepared for you. If you need anything, just let the kitchen know. Okay. If there's nothing else, I'll go downstairs first. Have fun. When the hotel's manager heard that the boss of the company was coming, he didn't dare to delay and immediately came to greet them. He even prepared a sumptuous lunch for Qin Chu and his wife. Looking at the red wine, steak, fruit salad, foie gras, caviar, and desserts on the table, Huamin's mood became even better. It looks delicious. Huamin licked her lips. Qin Chu smiled dotingly. He picked up a roasted red prawn and put it on Huamin's plate. At this time, Huamin suddenly thought of something and said, Hubby, I have something to tell you. Yes. Hua Xiqian went to Southside a few days ago and donated to the Hua Foundation. Then, he made me the chairman. Huamin briefly told him about Hua Xiqian. She felt that she could not hide it from Qin Chu. Qin Chu nodded. Since he wants to spend money to do good deeds, you should fulfill his wish. I think so too, but I don't think his purpose this time is as simple as doing a good deed. Do you think he's plotting something? Not necessarily. Let's wait and see. Chin Chu was also very careful with Hua Xiqian. Well, aren't you angry? Why would I be angry? Hua Xiqian always does things to South Side. Hua Min said slowly. As long as he doesn't do anything to hurt you, let him be. Just don't touch my minefield. Chin Chu had no time to deal with Hua Xiqian. In his opinion, Suyuk seemed to be a more difficult opponent to deal with. However, he would not tell Hua Min this, in case she thought too much and did not rest well. After the two had a delicious lunch, Chin Chu had a video conference in the conference room. Hua Min was bored, so she changed into a white sundress and casual pants from the PR department and went downstairs for a walk. A young lady. Hello, a young lady. Along the way, no matter who she met, they would call her a young lady. She was not used to it. She logged on to Weibo, which she had not been on for a long time, and took a few pictures of the beautiful scenery and posted them. She wrote, I want a house. I don't want it to be luxurious, I want to live happily ever after. A few seconds later, Suyuk sent her a private message, what kind of house do you want? I'll give you one. Chapter 384. I don't need it, thank you. I'm not joking, I'm serious, Suyu insisted. I'm not joking either, I'm serious too. I really don't need it. At work? No. At home? No. Then where are you? Suyuk sent a rolling eyes emoji. On vacation. By yourself? No. She wanted to say that she was with her husband, but Hua Min didn't want others to think that she was showing off her husband. However, as smart as Suyu was, he could guess who she was with. Therefore, he fell silent and didn't reply. Private messaging was the only way he could contact Hua Min. In order to prevent fans from noticing, he couldn't comment. He could only send private messages. What a waste. Most importantly, Hua Min didn't go on Weibo often. She would only go on it once in a while when she felt like it, so she was rarely online. Poor Suyu was connected to Weibo 24/7 and only followed Hua Min's updates. As soon as she updated her Weibo, he would immediately talk to her. All in all, his methods were quite childish. After Chin Chu finished his meeting, he went downstairs to find Hua Min. The two of them held hands as they strolled in the garden in front of the hotel. Listening to the birds chirping in the surrounding forest, they felt exceptionally happy. Did you notice that the sky here is bluer than where we came from? Hua Min raised her head and looked at the sky. She felt like the clouds were like cotton, floating in the blue sky. That's because this place is untouched. There's no car exhaust, no heavy industrial processing plants, and no smog. This is great, this is a place suitable for humans to live in. The reinforced concrete feels like a cage. Hubby, when we're old, can we retire here? Okay, we'll go wherever you want. Chin Chu's eyes were filled with love. You seem to be very busy recently. Yeah, a little. The company is about to hold its 30-year anniversary celebration. Then why did you bring me out? Hua Min was surprised. Aren't I just taking a break from work? Also, I might not be able to take care of you when I get busy in a few days, so it's good to bring you here in advance to relax. You're in an environment like Southside, where you're in contact with recuperating patients. It's inevitable that you'll feel depressed after a while. That's true. They keep saying that it hurts here and there. After watching them for a long time, I feel that I'm in pain too. Hua Min pursed his lips and smiled. Before dinner in the evening, Hua Min and Chin Chu went to a hot spring not far away under the arrangement of the hotel. It was actually natural. Hua Min liked this place very much because it was very original and there were not many changes. Above the hot spring was the mountain range of Mount Yunding. It was very romantic to soak in the warm hot spring while snowflakes floated down the mountain from time to time. One of the wonders of Mount Yunding was that the peak of the mountain was covered in snow all year round, and it never melted. Therefore, many friends from the south, who had never seen snow in their lives, would scream in surprise when they came here. It was simply too beautiful. It was like a fairy tale kingdom covered in white snow. Mr. Chin, thank you for bringing me to such a wonderful place. Thank you for taking me to eat so much good food and see such beautiful scenery. Huamin raised a small glass of red wine and smiled as he sat on a floating tray in the hot spring. Goddess Hua, thank you for coming back to my side. Thank you for being with me every day. Thank you for holding my hand and walking through every nook and cranny. When I come home late at night, thank you for leaving a warm light for me. Qin Chu raised his glass. So, is it really okay for us to be so sentimental? Huamin chuckled. Qin Chu didn't say anything. Instead, he raised his glass and leaned over. He tilted his head and kissed Huamin's slightly red lips, catching her off guard. Chapter 385. Inside the natural hot spring at 45 degrees Celsius, only the two of them were kissing in silence. Occasionally, large snowflakes would fall from the mountains. The high-end equipment at the edge of the hot spring was playing the English version of the classic Disney animation, Frozen, Let's Go. Huamin thought that she would never forget such a heartwarming scene. Even years later, when she thought of this scene, she would still feel tears welling up in her eyes. Qin Chu had spent a lot of effort to turn her unintentional words from a young girl into a dream. She remembered that it was 7 years ago, the two of them went to the ski resort together. At the time, Huamin said, it would be great if we could have our own resort in the future, with snow as the theme. There's a hot spring, an ice rink, and snowflakes floating above our heads when we soak in the hot spring. Wow, just thinking about it makes me want to die. It would be best if we could play some appropriate music. Just thinking about it makes me feel romantic. That day will come, Qin Chu said faintly at the time. Huamin didn't take it to heart. Now that 7 years had passed, she had forgotten about the past. Qin Chu, on the other hand, had painstakingly helped her realize a dream that wasn't even a dream. After a long time, Qin Chu reluctantly let go of Huamin. Then, the two of them clinked glasses and took small sips of red wine. It wasn't until dinnertime that the person in charge of the hot spring cautiously walked over to remind them, President Qin, a young lady, dinner is ready. Please come to the 15th floor. Qin Chu nodded. Then, he held Huamin's hand and walked out of the hot spring. Then, he wrapped a white towel around her. After changing into their evening attire, the two of them returned to the hotel together. Qin Chu's subordinates were very reliable. As soon as they heard that the president and a young lady were going to have dinner together, they immediately went to work. Qin Chu was dressed in a black slim-fit suit, looking very fashionable. Huamin was dressed in a white strapless evening gown. An exquisite peony flower bloomed on her collarbone, perfectly covering her cleavage. Paired with a pair of white high heels, her aura was simply heaven-defying. After changing in the suite, Huamin walked out. She walked very slowly because she rarely wore high heels. She was afraid of falling. The moment Qin Chu saw Huamin, a trace of amazement flashed through his eyes. He always knew that his Mion's aura was extremely strong when she dressed up. It's just a meal. Is there a need to be so grand? Huamin was slightly shy. After all, she wasn't used to dressing up like this. She felt that she couldn't let go. Let's go. We still have guests to meet later. Guests? Huamin was confused. It was such a formal occasion, could it be? After thinking of something, Huamin started to feel uneasy. Qin Chu, listen to me, I'm not ready yet. I know what you're worried about. Don't worry, I'm not taking you to meet my parents. Chin-Chu carefully patted the back of Hua-Min's hand to comfort her. Seeing that Chin-Chu had hit the nail on the head, Hua-Min lowered her head and didn't say anything. It didn't matter who it was, as long as it wasn't Chin-Chu's parents. She was sure that she wouldn't have a pleasant dinner with Chin-Chu's parents. When Chin-Chu and Hua-Min walked past, many waitresses whispered to each other. President Chin is so handsome. Oh my god, he's so much more photogenic in person. He's like a celebrity. Yeah, President Chin looks so young. He's probably not more than 30 years old. A young lady looks okay, she's not that stunning. I really don't know how she captured President Chin's heart. Yeah. President Chin is so perfect. It's a pity that he's with a young lady. Although their voices were low, Hua-Min could still hear some complaints. She couldn't help but laugh. Then, she tightened her grip on Chin-Chu's arm. Inside the Chinese restaurant on the 15th floor, when Chin-Chu and Hua-Min walked in, there were already people waiting inside. Upon seeing who it was, Hua-Min's eyes lit up with joy. Chapter 386. You too. How dare you play along with Chin-Chu to surprise me? Do you want to die? Ha! Take them out and behead them. Hua-Min laughed. Zhu Lingling and Gao Ran both stood up. Zhu Lingling was wearing a crimson evening gown that was a little sexy on one shoulder. Gao Ran was wearing a navy blue suit that looked luxurious. His formal attire was completely different from his usual self. Queen Hua, please forgive me. Your husband didn't want to tell you and wanted to give you a surprise. It is indeed a surprise. So, are you guys back together? Gao Ran, Zhu Lingling, Hua-Min then pointed at Zhu Lingling. You're not mad at him anymore. You pulled him back from the blacklist. It seems like Mr. Chin invited us here for free food, fun, and even to stay in the presidential suite. I'll forgive him. Tisk tsk. Your integrity is all over the floor. Hua-Min chuckled. What's the point of having integrity? It's not like you can eat it. You can eat and play, but you can't spend money. That's right, it's a waste not to eat it. Gao Ran played along. So you guys are here to eat enemies? Chin-Chu said faintly. Oh, of course not. President Chin, come and sit. Gao Ran pulled out a chair and called out to Chin-Chu. The four of them sat down facing each other. Hua-Min glanced at Chin-Chu. If I knew they were coming, I wouldn't have dressed so formally. Don't worry, you'll find out soon enough. Chin-Chu smiled mysteriously. What's going on? Is Gao Ran confessing to Lingling? Hua-Min asked casually. Ahem. Gao Ran was so scared that he coughed violently. Zhu Lingling also had an awkward expression on her face. Is there such a segment? Chin-Chu looked at Gao Ran, amused. Gao Ran quickly waved his hand. No, absolutely not. All right, let's eat first. Chin-Chu waved his hand, and the waiters brought the dishes in one after another. In the middle was a huge iron pot. It was still hot when it was brought up, and there was still a fire burning underneath. Stove fish. Hua-Min glanced at the big fish and asked curiously. It doesn't look like it. Zhu Lingling shook her head. This is a special stew method. The fish was caught from the Yunding River and is very fresh. This kind of fish is relatively rare and can only be found in this place. It tastes very delicious. Some local seasonings were added and it was simmered for more than 3 hours. It is said that it is a dish that the local people must cook during the New Year and other festivals. Chin-Chu changed his usual attitude and explained. It looks good. It's very appetizing. Gao Ran picked up his chopsticks and was eager to try it. Then, the waiters brought in some wild vegetables and local fruits one after another. The four of them filled the entire table. It was like delicacies. When Qin Chu called Gao Ran and Zhu Lingling and invited them to eat, drink, and have fun, they immediately agreed. They agreed without a second thought, but Qin Chu added that he had a request. It was that the two of them had to come together and Gao Ran had to drive Zhu Lingling. Otherwise, neither of them should come. Therefore, the two of them miraculously reconciled because they came out to eat, drink, and have fun. During the meal, Qin Chu kept putting food in Huomin's bowl. Try this. It's a local wild vegetable. Okay. Oh my god, can you two stop torturing the single people? Turn off your PDA mode. It's annoying to see you like this. Gao Ran was extremely envious. It's a crime to show off your PDA, Zhu Lingling also argued. Huomin looked up and said slowly, freeloaders shouldn't cause trouble. Let's eat properly. She really is a young lady. Even her tone is so arrogant. Zhu Lingling and Gao Ran teased each other. Every time the four of them ate together, they would fight until the sky turned upside down. Qin Chu was also a little more talkative than usual. In short, the atmosphere was very lively. An hour later, Qin Chu looked at his watch. It's about time. Everyone, let's go. Where are we going? Are there other activities? Gao Ran stood up and asked with a smile. You'll know when we get there. Qin Chu didn't say much. Huomin felt that Qin Chu was a little strange this time. He didn't want to say much, as if he was hiding some secret. Chapter 387. Qin Chu took the elevator down to the second floor with the three of them. Inside the Clivia ballroom on the second floor. The moment the door was pushed open, Huomin felt like the flashing lights were too bright. She couldn't even open her eyes. President Qin. Many people came over to greet him. The ballroom was about 300 to 400 square meters, and it was decorated in a Western-style setting. There were also a lot of people. President Qin, you're here. It's almost time, the hotel's general manager walked up and said carefully. Qin Chu nodded, then turned to Huomin and said, give me a second. Okay. Then, Qin Chu walked onto the stage under the guidance of the hotel's general manager. Next, let's welcome our company's CEO, Mr. Qin Chu, to give a speech. Then, thunderous applause followed. Do you feel like your man has a halo on his head right now? Zhu Lingling asked with a smile. Do you think he's Cupid, with a halo on his head? Huomin couldn't help but laugh. At this time, Huomin, Gao Ran, and Zhu Lingling stood below the stage and watched Qin Chu, who had a halo on his head, give a speech. At the beginning of his speech, Qin Chu said, ever since I took over the resort, I discovered that the economy here is poor due to the lack of transportation. Many children in the mountainous areas don't even finish primary school. I was deeply moved by this. My wife is a medical worker, and she has a kind and sincere heart. I believe that, like me, she is willing to help those in need. So today, I'm announcing the creation of the Mian Angel Children's Foundation in my wife's name. Our goal is to help the children around Yunding Mountain rebuild their school. Thank you everyone. After Qin Chu finished speaking, thunderous applause followed. Meanwhile, Huomin's eyes were already glistening with tears. She was truly shocked by Qin Chu's secrecy. Mian Angel Children's Foundation, oh my, your husband loves you so much. Zhu Lingling felt touched. Huomin bit her lip and didn't say anything, until Qin Chu walked down from the stage. Their eyes met, and that was more than 1,000 words. Beautiful Mrs. Qin, may I invite you for a dance? Qin Chu stretched out his hand in a gentlemanly gesture. With tears in her eyes, Huomin offered her fair little hand and the two of them walked onto the dance floor in each other's arms. She danced the first waltz of the banquet to the music. When it came to the waltz, Huamin didn't know how to do it, nor did he have the spare money to learn it. He only learned it when he was in school. The two of them went skating together. Chin Chu taught her how to dance the waltz on the ice as he skated with her. After 7 years, Huamin was still dancing so well. Even Zhu Lingling was surprised. Oh my god, when did this lady learn how to waltz? Even her steps are so standard. Gao Ran gave Chin Chu a thumbs up and complimented, Chin Chu looks like he doesn't talk much. I didn't expect him to be such a flirt. The banquet was quite lively. Most of the guests were local officials and leaders, and many local entrepreneurs were also invited. It was very lively. Huamin had never been so high profile before. Luckily, this was Yunding Mountain, not Sea City. He believed that it wouldn't be published in the newspapers, and his mother definitely wouldn't find out. After fooling around for a while, the four of them left the scene together. They ran to the lawn outside the hotel to get some fresh air. The night sky was always so bright. Looking at the stars from this latitude was a unique experience. Suddenly, a shooting star flashed by. Look, it's a shooting star. Zhu Lingling immediately closed her eyes and made a wish. Then, Huamin and Gao Ran both closed their eyes and pretended to make a wish. Chin Chu, why didn't you allow it? Gao Ran opened his eyes after making his wish and saw Chin Chu still standing there like a fool. My wish came true 4 months ago, Chin Chu said as he looked gently at Huamin's side profile. Chapter 388. After Huamin heard this, he slowly opened his eyes and looked into Chin Chu's eyes with deep affection. My god, here they go again, they're torturing us again. Venomous Tongling, let's get away from them. Gao Ran grabbed Zhu Lingling's hand and stepped back to give Chin Chu and Huamin some space. Hey, let go of me, don't touch me, stupid cop. Zhu Lingling obviously hadn't finished making her wish, so she was obviously unhappy when Gao Ran pulled her away. What did you wish for? Chin Chu walked over and put one arm around Huamin's shoulder. It's a secret. Tell me, maybe I can help you make it happen. If it's easy to make, it's not a wish. Huamin smiled mysteriously. Okay. Honey, whatever you say is right. The four of them had a lot of fun in the hotel garden. The street lights in front of the hotel were very unique. Just like a rainbow, it gave people a breathtaking feeling. The 7 colors were constantly changing. The atmosphere today is so good, why don't the four of us play a game? Zhu Lingling suggested. Sure, how do we play? Huamin asked with a smile. Let's play table tennis. Whoever says something wrong will have to jump into the fountain. Do you dare? Gao Ran pointed at the pool that was less than half a meter deep in front of them and said excitedly. No problem. Chin Chu nodded. I agree. Huamin nodded. I don't care, let's play, who's scared? Zhu Lingling raised her chin and expressed her dissatisfaction. Then let's start with me. Gao Ran immediately said a word. Ping. Chin Chu, ping. Huamin, bowl. Zhu Lingling, bowl. Big sister, you should say ping. I'm the one who said ping. Huamin looked at Zhu Lingling helplessly. He knew that every time they played word games, Zhu Lingling was the slowest to react among the four of them. 7 years ago, it was the same, and 7 years later, it was still the same. I'm sorry. This time doesn't count. Let's do it again. Zhu Lingling obviously wanted to act shamelessly. That's not very nice of you. Big sis, you should jump into the pool. Otherwise, it won't be hard to convince the crowd, Huamin said deliberately. That's right. If everyone says that this round doesn't count, then what's the point? Chin Chu followed suit. You two are really adding insult to injury. Zhu Lingling gritted her teeth in anger. Just as she grabbed her evening gown and was about to jump into the pool, she suddenly heard Gao Ran say, "Wait, I'll jump for you. Your gown is too inconvenient. If you accidentally fall in and drown, then something bad will happen." "Fuck you, don't you know how to talk? You're the one who drowns." Zhu Lingling was so angry that she rolled her eyes. At this moment, Gao Ran proudly jumped into the pool with a splash, creating a huge splash. Min immediately clapped and shouted, "What a real man." "Of course. I didn't learn anything else in the police academy. I only learned how to torture myself," Gao Ran replied as he wiped the water off his face. To be honest, the moment Gao Ran jumped into the pool, Zhu Lingling was quite touched. Although it was just a game, she was still surprised to see him like this. "You saved the damsel in distress. I'll give you a 9 out of 10. I don't want you to get too proud of yourself," Chin Chu said as he looked at Gao Ran. The four of them played 4 rounds. Zhu Lingling lost 3 rounds. Luckily, Gao Ran helped her, so Gao Ran became a drowned rat. After the 4 of them finished playing and were walking back to their hotel rooms, Min suddenly whispered into Chin Chu's ear, "Mr. Chin, I really want to know, how many rooms did you book for them today? Why don't you guess?" Chin Chu slowly smiled. Hearing what Gao Ran said, Zhu Lingling was completely relieved. So, in the middle of the night, she wore a bathrobe and went to Gao Ran's room next door. Inside the other presidential suite, Min lay on the soft bed and asked Chin Chu with a smile, "So, is it really okay for you to be so two-faced? If Lingling finds out that you asked someone to do this on purpose, she'll definitely fight you to the death." "Why would she fight me to the death? I'm just helping them." Chin Chu didn't think much of it. Breaking the lights in someone's room and then saying that there were no rooms available was such a lousy excuse. Even Min didn't believe it, but Zhu Lingling actually believed it. "So, she wasn't good enough, are you tired? I'll get you a bath." "Okay, I want to take a bubble bath," Min said coquettishly. Chin Chu nodded and lovingly kissed Min's forehead. Then, he got up and went to the bathroom to get the water ready. Min lay on the bed and thought about what might happen if Zhu Lingling went to Gao Ran's room. He thought it would be very interesting. After some time, Min magically fell asleep. When she woke up, she found herself in a bubble bath. She was surrounded by warm water and sweet rose essential oil. "You're awake?" Chin Chu's voice suddenly sounded, startling Min. Chapter 390. I'm not sleepwalking, am I? How did I get in? I carried you in. Where are my clothes? Min asked, dumbfounded. I took them off, so, you're watching me shower. Min was on the verge of breaking down. Chin Chu was calmly sitting on a chair in the bathroom, watching his wife shower while watching the stock market on his tablet. I'm not watching, I'm accompanying you in the shower, Chin Chu corrected. Oh my God, is there anyone else as shameless as you? How could you be so rational as to peek at me in the shower? Min was so angry that she laughed. We're husband and wife, there's no such thing as peeking. Everything is legal, Chin Chu put down his tablet and said righteously. Okay, then Mr. Chin, can you go out for a second? I'm going to start showering. No. Why not? Because I want to help you. After speaking, Chin Chu walked over and reached his hand into the bathtub. Ah! Min screamed in fear. The two of them played around as they showered, splashing water all over the floor. By the time Chin Chu carried Min out of the bathtub, it was already 12:30 p.m. Min was wrapped in a towel and scattered on the floor. Under the dim light, her perfect body was extremely seductive. Chin Chu's eyes darkened as he looked at her, Mian. His voice was a little hoarse, but it was fatally seductive. Huamin looked at Chin Chu with deep affection. She knew what she was about to face. Can I? Mr. Chin was afraid that Huamin would be unhappy, so he took the initiative to ask. Huamin nodded shyly. Her pale fingertips slid across his lips, all the way down to his neck. Chin Chu swallowed, his Adam's apple visibly moving. He thought, I'm a person with strong willpower. I'm not interested in anything except for Huamin. Huamin is a poison that I can't get rid of for the rest of my life. It eats at my heart and rots my bones. Inside the beige round curtain, two figures were entangled together, and even their breathing had become hurried. Chin Chu was no longer the reckless and impulsive young man he was 7 years ago, and Huamin was no longer an inexperienced girl. They were already mature enough. They were so mature that this was the first time they were infatuated with each other after 7 years. Chin Chu's kiss was very slow and light, as if he was worshipping an extremely sacred object, nibbling away at it bit by bit. The large hand continued to move downward, exploring the area that it had never touched before. Huamin felt her body getting hotter and hotter, and her face getting redder and redder. Even breathing became difficult. One of her legs was wrapped around Chin Chu's broad waist, and one of her hands was wrapped around his neck. Huamin's mind was already wandering between dream and reality. She thought, as a woman, the happiest thing in her life was to give herself to the man she loved the most. Although this was the second time, compared to the ridiculous drunken act 7 years ago, this was the first time. After enough foreplay, Chin Chu finally dared to truly fuse with Huamin. The thing he was most afraid of was hurting her. Does it hurt? He asked lovingly. Huamin shook her head, then, she melted into Chin Chu's endless love. Finally, she turned into specks of starlight and flew up into the clouds. When she woke up again, it was already 8 in the morning the next day. When Huamin woke up, she opened her eyes to see Chin Chu leaning on his head and looking at her. His eyes were filled with endless gentleness. Did you sleep well? Chin Chu asked gently. Chapter 391. Very good. Huamin's lips curved upwards, revealing the most refreshing smile of the morning. Do you want to eat breakfast in the room or in the dining room? He asked as he held her hand. Let's go to the dining room, I'll get up and clean up. After speaking, Huamin was about to get up. Suddenly, her expression changed. What's wrong? Chin Chu asked anxiously when he realized that something was wrong. I think that thing came. What thing? Chin Chu was confused. My relative, my period. Huamin looked like she was about to cry. Chin Chu finally realized what was going on. He lifted Huamin's blanket and saw a pool of dark red blood. Chin Chu was completely speechless and didn't know what to say. However, he was really glad that her period came this morning. Otherwise, they wouldn't have had a one-night stand like last night. Don't move, I'll get someone to bring you some. After comforting Huamin, Chin Chu picked up his phone and made a call. 3 minutes later, the waiter knocked on the door. Chin Chu walked over and opened the door. President Chin, here are the things you need. Chin Chu nodded and took a handbag. Inside were 5 packs of sanitary pads and a few pairs of brand new underwear. Go and change. Okay. Huamin nodded and shyly took the sanitary pads and underwear into the bathroom. Half an hour later she washed up, put on some light makeup, and walked out wearing the evening gown from last night. Chin Chu saw it and shook his head. Don't wear this, change into that casual outfit. Why? Huamin didn't understand. Wasn't this dress pretty enough? It's too thin, you can't catch a cold for the next few days. Okay. Sure enough, Mr. Chin was very thoughtful. Huamin immediately went into the bathroom and changed into the casual outfit he wore when he arrived. By the time they arrived at the restaurant, it was almost 9 o'clock. When Gao Ran and Zhu Lingling saw that they were late, they sighed and said, "You two must have been very intense last night. You fought until dawn, right? That's why I woke up so late." Of course, such shameless words must have come from Gao Ran. Huamin didn't retort as usual. Instead, his face turned red. Zhu Lingling immediately realized that something was wrong. She carefully took Huamin's hand and asked in a low voice, "What happened last night?" "Nothing happened." "That's impossible. Did they consummate their marriage?" Zhu Lingling asked. "Consummate your head. Hurry up and eat. Stop talking." Huamin became angry and stopped talking nonsense with Zhu Lingling. Gao Ran, on the other hand, continued to tease Qin Chu. "Mr. Qin, you're still able to get up after last night's battle. Your body is indeed in good shape." Qin Chu slowly replied, "My kidneys have always been in good shape. Unlike you, you still need 6 boxes of all-nourishing pills." "Pfft, how is that possible? My body is in good shape. I don't need any bullshit pills." "Qin Chu, you're really good at slandering me," Gao Ran yelled. Qin Chu looked at him, then looked at Zhu Lingling. Suddenly, he changed the topic. "I heard that you two slept in the same room last night." "Ahem." Gao Ran coughed violently. Zhu Lingling immediately explained, "That's because the light in my room didn't work. The electrician didn't come, and there weren't any other rooms available. That's why." Okay. Don't explain. We believe you." Huamin smiled and patted Zhu Lingling's hand. "Ahem, why do I feel like you don't believe me?" Zhu Lingling asked pitifully when she saw Huamin's perfunctory expression. "Chu, we're going back today. We have some business to take care of," Gao Ran suddenly interrupted. "Are you two going to the Civil Affairs Bureau to get married?" Huamin asked back. Chapter 392. Goddess Hua, can you not be so scary with your words? How am I supposed to live if I get married to her? Gao Ran glanced at Huamin. Hey, how can you say that? What do you mean you can't live? What's wrong with me? Didn't you take the initiative to invite me to your suite last night? Otherwise, do you think I'd care? I realize that you stinky cop, why do you always act so differently in front of others? Aren't you a hypocrite? Zhu Lingling was obviously angry. I didn't mean that. What I meant was to tell Huamin that we can't compare to them. We still have work to do at the police station, so we can't take too long. We'll leave early. I'll come back again when I'm on holiday. This place is really beautiful, Gao Ran sighed. Okay, I'll get someone to fill up your cars and drive them over. Qin Chu nodded. What about you two? When are you going back? Gao Ran asked. Tomorrow. We'll be home tomorrow night. Okay, we'll meet again when you guys get back. After breakfast, Qin Chu ordered someone to drive Gao Ran's car over. Then, he sent Gao Ran and Zhu Lingling off. To be honest, Huamin was quite reluctant to part with these two clowns, but he had no choice. After all, they had work to do. After they left, Huamin held Qin Chu's hand and asked, Where are we going today? We're going deep into the mountains today. Deep into the mountains. Huamin was stunned again. She had no idea what Qin Chu was planning, but Qin Chu's plans always made her eyes light up. Whatever he arranged was what she liked. There was no doubt about that. Chin Chu drove Huamin along the mountain road of the Yunding mountain range for about an hour. The road was getting more and more difficult to drive on. Chin Chu stopped the car, pointed to a medium-sized entrance and said, "This is the road up the mountain. The car can't go in. Let's walk in." Ah. It looks so eerie. Could there be some ferocious beasts? Huamin felt a little scared. "No, don't worry, I'm here." "That's right. With you around, the other beasts won't appear because you're the biggest beast." Huamin covered his mouth and laughed. Chin Chu was speechless. "Since you're so arrogant, let's see how I'll torture you tonight." Chin Chu reached out his finger and flicked Huamin's head. "I'm on my period." "Can't you?" Huamin said arrogantly. Honey, you seem to have misunderstood something. When I said torture, I meant tickling you." "Ah. I see." Huamin felt a little awkward. "What did you think it was?" Chin Chu smirked. "I didn't think anything of it. Let's go." "Hurry up, don't waste time." Huamin knew he couldn't win against Chin Chu, so he changed the topic. Chin Chu held Huamin's hand and walked along the mountain road. The mountain road was bumpy, but because of the wooden steps, it became a lot more interesting. "These steps are so beautiful. They must have cost a lot to make." Huamin lowered his head and sighed. "These steps were just completed not long ago. I ordered people to design them." The cost was indeed high because the quality of normal wood wasn't good enough. After a long time, it would rot. It was too dangerous, so I ordered people to use special wood to make them. "Ha! You ordered people to design them. Why?" Huamin didn't understand. Huamian didn't think Chin Chu was the kind of person who would spend a lot of money to build stairs in the deep mountains and forests. There must be a reason, because, you'll know when you see it later. Chin Chu was still mysterious and didn't want to say anything. "Ever since we came to Yunding Mountain, you've been acting mysterious with me." Huamin looked at Chin Chu, amused. He didn't know what Chin Chu was up to. Chapter 393. Huamin knew that Chin Chu was being mysterious again. Maybe there were more surprises ahead of them. After walking for about 3 miles, Huamin was stunned by the beautiful scenery in front of her. The path was originally lined with yellow leaves because birch trees would turn golden in autumn. It was very beautiful. However, after walking for 3 miles, the yellow leaves suddenly turned into a deep red. It was as if magic had been cast on it. "Oh my God, it's so beautiful." Huamin looked at the red leaves around her and felt like she was in a fairy tale. Chin Chu looked up at the trees and said, "These are maple trees. Every autumn, they turn deep red for half a month. It's very beautiful. The hotel staff are local residents, so they told me about it. I thought it was a good idea, so I bought this area and planned to develop it into a red leaves tourist attraction. However, in order to preserve the original ecology of the trees, this place is only open for 15 days a year and only receives 200 tourists per day." Huamin gave him a thumbs up. "Good idea, I'll give you 32 likes. Do you like it?" "I do, it's super beautiful here. I never dreamed that there would be a place like this. If it was rainy, I would be walking on the path in the forest, looking at the red leaves in the rain. Wouldn't that be so romantic?" Chin Chu looked at Huamin's happy face and felt happy from the bottom of his heart. "Honey, when we're old, we can build a wooden mansion here and live in the depths of the red leaves. We can raise a flock of chickens, ducks, geese, and a dog. Then, we can plant some pure green vegetables. It'll be like the gods. We can also have a bunch of babies. That'll be even livelier," Chin Chu added. Huamin immediately rolled her eyes at him. Do you think I'm a pig? A bunch of babies. It'll be great to have a soccer team. I'll make sure they make it to the World Cup, Qin Chu teased. Huamin couldn't stop laughing. She lowered her head, picked up a red maple leaf, and placed it on her left eye. It was beautiful. Qin Chu couldn't help but take out his phone and snap a picture of this beautiful scene. Aren't you going to take a few pictures of such a beautiful scenery? Qin Chu reminded. Huamin shook his head. There are many beautiful sceneries that can't be captured by a camera. Only by experiencing it and seeing it with your own eyes can you enjoy it the most. Sometimes, the eyes are the best camera. Honey, whatever you say is right. Qin Chu smiled and put his hand back into his pocket. Huamin was probably in a good mood, so he ran a few more steps up the stairs. Mian, come back. You can't go there. Qin Chu's expression changed slightly as he reminded her. Why not? Are you keeping a mistress in the depths of the jungle and keeping a mistress in a golden house? Huamin laughed as he ran. He climbed 2 steps at a time. Qin Chu couldn't stop him and could only follow closely behind. Keeping a mistress in a golden house? How could you think of something like that? You must be crazy. Qin Chu was helpless and could only follow his wife closely, afraid that an accident would happen. After all, this mountainous area was only recently developed, so it wasn't very safe. Within 5 miles was a shallow mountainous area. Normally, there would only be small squirrels, monkeys, and other small animals. If they walked further in, they might encounter something. Although they didn't hear of tigers or black bears nearby, they still had to be careful. Huamin ran for about a mile without stopping. When she was tired, she stopped and took in big breaths of fresh air. Suddenly, a flowery thing under a small tree to her left caught her attention. It was round. What a cute mushroom. She bent down and reached out to pick it. Qin Chu, who was a few steps behind her, was scared out of his wits. Mian, don't. Huamin immediately stopped what she was doing. At this moment, the round thing began to unfurl, one circle after another, then, it stuck out its dark red tongue. Oh my God, there's a snake. Huamin screamed. It would have been fine if she didn't scream, but her scream startled the little snake. It immediately jumped up and pounced towards Huamin's arm. Chapter 394. In the blink of an eye, Qin Chu flew over and protected Huamin. The little snake bit Qin Chu's arm. Fortunately, it was autumn and the morning was a little chilly. Qin Chu was wearing a light gray long-sleeved casual shirt. The little snake didn't bite his skin directly, so he used less force. Qin Chu used his other hand to carefully pinch the little snake's weak spot. Then, he slowly placed it on the ground and suddenly let go. The little snake seemed to be frightened. It wagged its tail and slithered away into the grass. You were bitten. Let me see. Huamin's expression changed drastically. He lifted Qin Chu's sleeve. 2 rows of teeth marks were clearly visible, and blood slowly flowed out. It's all my fault. You were bitten. Let me squeeze the blood out first. It might hurt a little. Bear with it. After speaking, Huamin pressed down with both hands, and the blood kept flowing out. Aren't you supposed to help me with the drug? That's how it's portrayed on TV, Qin Chu reminded him. How is that possible? What if this snake is poisonous? I'm dead for sure, Huamin said calmly. Qin Chu was speechless. So, after I die, you plan to run away with the billions in wealth, Lady Qin? Qin Chu looked at Huamin quietly. Both of us are doctors. You can fool people. You can fool others, but you can't fool me. This type of snake is called the Songhua snake. also known as the cauliflower snake. It's ferocious and not poisonous. Its main characteristic is that it's huge. Many of them are as thick as the mouth of a bowl, so it's also known as the Songhua python. This type of snake can be found in more than 10 provinces in our country. The one just now was obviously a newborn snake. It's not a big deal. When I was in medical school, I studied this type of snake during my internship during the holidays. Qin Chu was helpless when he heard Huamin speak so frankly. In the end, he could only sigh calmly. That's why it's not fun to have such a rational wife. I was careless just now. This little fellow was coiled up here. It's round and I didn't see it clearly. I thought it was a small mushroom. But since you know what kind of snake it is, why did you still rush over? It's not like it's poisonous. Huamin took out a bottle of mineral water and washed Qin Chu's wound with heartache. Then, he took out a tissue and gently wiped the wound for him. I was afraid that it would hurt if I bit you, Qin Chu replied, feeling wronged. Huamin's heart was filled with warmth. Qin Chu couldn't bear to let her suffer even a little bit of pain. He really spoiled her to the extreme. No wonder Gao Ran and the others often said that they would be tortured to death by Qin Chu, this wife-protecting maniac. After treating the wound, Huamin held Qin Chu's arm and walked down the mountain. Honey, do you know why people are afraid when they see a snake? Even if they know that it's not real, even if it's just a small snake, they will still be afraid when they see it, Huamin asked seriously. It's an instinctive reaction, Qin Chu replied casually. Huamin shook his head. An instinctive reaction is when you see a snake often and get bitten by it. But many people are scared when they see a snake for the first time. This is called genetic influence. It's a problem that occurs during evolution. In the past, I read an article about this from an instructor in the United States. I'm not very interested in this, so I didn't study it, Qin Chu replied slowly. Huamin nodded. I read that article. Scientists first locked mice in a glass house and released white smoke. The mice didn't react. Later on, every time they released white smoke, they would electrocute the mice. Later on, the mice slowly became afraid of white smoke. When the mice gave birth to the third generation of mice, they didn't need to be electrocuted. They would be scared as soon as they released white smoke. This means that when our ancestors evolved from gorillas to humans, they must have been bitten by snakes thousands of times. Isn't this amazing? Indeed. There are too many mysteries in nature. We humans only know the surface. Qin Chu sighed in his heart. However, it was amazing that a small matter like being bitten by a snake could trigger a conversation between the husband and wife about genetics. Therefore, when a genius husband married a genius wife, even their daily lives were enriched. When the two returned to the hotel from the mountain, Qin Chu received a phone call. Then, his expression changed. What's wrong? We're going back now. Something happened at the company. Qin Chu's expression was serious. Chapter 395. Emichim, Huamin nodded, knowing that it was an emergency. Otherwise, Qin Chu wouldn't have looked so serious. Qin Chu sped the entire way, reducing a 5-hour trip to 4 hours. When they arrived at Sea City, it was still dark outside. I'm going to the company. You go home and get some rest, Qin Chu said gently. Huamin nodded and got out of the car at the entrance of Imperial Park. Qin Chu drove all the way to GK's headquarters. Dad, why are you looking for me in such a hurry? As soon as Qin Chu walked in, he saw his father sitting in his office chair with a bitter look on his face. Obviously, it wasn't something good. I saw yesterday that the finance department allocated a sum of money for the foundation on Yunding Mountain. It's as high as 50 million yuan, right? 50 million is just the initial estimate, there will be more in the future. Yunding Mountain is located in a mountainous area, and many residents don't have electricity or water. Most of their children can't afford to go to school because even the schools can't support them, and they don't have enough teachers. What does that have to do with you? It's our country's business, and you're an entrepreneur. What you need to do is make money, expand GK's business model, and increase our turnover. Since when did we need to put so much effort into charity? Every year, we'll make a symbolic donation. You don't need to take it so seriously. You're a businessman, not a philanthropist, do you understand? Qin Yumin was furious. It was obvious that his son didn't discuss this with him. 50 million yuan wasn't a lot, but he didn't feel good about using it for charity. Dad, you're so knowledgeable, you should know that money can come back after it's spent. Money is endless, but our lives are limited. Why don't we do something that's within our means? Yunding Mountain is one of the projects I'm focusing on. Once it's fully developed, there'll be an endless stream of money, but we should also benefit the local residents, not bring disaster to them and destroy their homes. We're businessmen, and it's true that we make money, but I don't think there's anything wrong with doing things that benefit the people. Don't try to explain to me. I don't think you would do something like this. Tell me the truth, was this Huamin's idea? She instigated you, didn't she? Only a poor commoner would be willing to do such a thing. Qin Yumin knew that his son and Huamin were together, so he blamed it all on Huamin. Hearing his father blaming Huamin, Qin Chu was very unhappy. Dad, this was my own idea. It has nothing to do with Huamin. Don't try to fool me. Do you think I don't know anything? And you even named it the Mian Foundation. That's ridiculous, son, look at you, is this something an entrepreneur like you should do? Qin Yumin slammed the table angrily. I admit that the fund is named after her, which shows how important she is to me. Qin Yumin asked with great difficulty. 4 months ago, not long after I came back to China, Qin Chu replied faintly. Qin Yumin felt his brain buzz. He lost the ability to think for a moment. This blow was too big for him. Chapter 397. Qin Chu thought for a moment and continued, Dad, I'll give you 1 day to think about it. If you respect my decision, then I'll continue to work at GK. If you don't think I'm suitable and impulsive, then I won't come back to work starting tomorrow. Thank you for giving me this chance. Take care of yourself, that's all. Qin Chu turned around and left after he finished speaking. Qin Yumin fell back into his office chair with a look of defeat on his face. Sir, there's an emergency meeting in a bit. Yang anxiously said when he saw that the president was about to leave. It's fine as long as the president is here, Qin Chu said as he left the company. When he got home, Huamin was still cleaning up the house. She wore a cartoon apron and mopped the floor with a mop. It was good that the house was spacious, but cleaning up took a lot of effort. After a long time, she still hadn't finished mopping the first floor. However, she knew that this was her home, so she had something to look forward to. Huamin was at a loss for words as she mopped the floor while humming the theme song from Bonnie Bears. When Qin Chu walked in, she immediately turned around. You're back so early, I thought you'd be working until midnight again. Why are you doing this? Qin Chu strode over and snatched the mop from Huamin's hands. I had nothing to do, and I haven't been home for a few days, so the house is covered in dust. Us medical students are all misophobic, we can't tolerate dirt. You're on your period, so you can't do this. I'll get a part-time worker to come over later, Qin Chu said, his heart aching. Huamin smiled slightly. Please, Mr. Qin, I'm not that pretentious. I'm on my period, not pregnant. This isn't heavy labor, so it won't affect me. That still won't do, be good. Chin-Chu grabbed Huamin's hand and sat him down on the sofa. Then, he quietly took off his jacket, picked up the mop, and began mopping. How can this be done by a man? Put it down. Huamin really felt that Chin-Chu was not suitable for this. This is also my home. Why can't I do it? Hurry up and rest. I'll do it. Chin-Chu was indeed very efficient. It didn't take long for the downstairs to be cleaned up, and even the blind spots were cleaned up. Finally, after tidying up, he sat on the sofa and hugged Huamin with one hand. He suddenly felt very relaxed. What's wrong? Did something good happen? You're snickering. Huamin didn't understand. Yes. What good news? Can you share it with me? If I quit and stopped being GK's president, would you still like me? Chin-Chu teased Huamin on purpose. Of course not. You're not the president anymore. Who would like you? Chin-Chu was speechless. To be honest, I have a great plan. If I suddenly quit being GK's president, we'll take our savings and travel around the world for a year. Then, we'll choose a place with the most beautiful scenery and settle down. It doesn't matter if it's a small town, a small village, or a big city. As long as we like it, we'll open a private hospital there. I'll be the doctor, and you'll be the nurse. No, I want to be the director, Huamin interrupted with a smile. Okay, you'll be the director, and I'll be the vice director. Then, we'll live the rest of our lives in peace and happiness. Sounds good, but it's just a thought. You're the only one in your family. If you don't become the president, who will? Is your dad going to sell GK? No. Chin-Chu shook his head. Huamin leaned his head on Chin-Chu's shoulder and quietly asked, Did you and your dad fight? We didn't fight, but we had a little argument. Chin-Chu told her the truth. Was it because of me? Huamin snuggled into Chin-Chu's arms and asked. Chin-Chu lowered his head and lovingly patted her head. Lady Chin, can you be any smarter? I think it's because of the Mian Fund. Otherwise, they wouldn't have named it after me. It's such a big deal, that's not the problem. Don't worry, Chin-Chu comforted her. But... Huamin wanted to say something, but Chin-Chu interrupted her. Honey, when will your relative leave? Chin-Chu asked eagerly. Huamin smiled and took out 2 glass bottles of soda from the fridge. Then, he walked back to the table. I want soda too, you, go get me a bottle, Siyu said to Wei Liao. Wei Liao imitated Huamin's tone and asked, Lord Su, which one do you want? The same as that table, Siyu said capriciously. Wei Liao smiled as he stood up and walked towards the fridge. Do you want to go over and say hi? Chin-Chu knew that Huamin knew Siyu. She mentioned it herself. No, I don't know him that well. Huamin shook his head and refused. Chin-Chu didn't say anything else, Siyu finished his ramen in a few bites. Wei Liao stood up and said, Let's go. Boss, another bowl. Although Siyu called out, Boss, he was indeed looking at Huamin. Pfft, you want more? I want to throw up. Lord Su, please forgive me. Wei Liao looked disgusted. From the moment they walked in until now, the two of them had eaten about 6 bowls of ramen. Although it was 2 yuan per bowl, he couldn't be greedy. Chapter 399. I'm not full yet, Siyu said capriciously. Just then, the boss walked out and smiled embarrassedly. Sir, the last 2 bowls of noodles were ordered by the 2 customers. We don't have enough noodles right now. If you want to make more noodles, you'll have to wait for about 20 minutes. Is that okay? No, I can't wait, Suyu refused immediately. Then, what should we do? The boss looked troubled. Suyu glanced at Huamin and Qin and said, "Give me their noodles. I can pay more. 2 yuan for a bowl of noodles, right? I'll give you 200 yuan and I'll eat that bowl of noodles." After speaking, Suyu capriciously took out his wallet and took out 200 yuan bills. "Sir, it's not about the money. There are regular customers. This is really against the rules. In my place, my words are the rules." Suyu didn't seem to be convinced. He was arguing with the boss. Qin stood up and said, "Boss, give him this bowl of noodles. I can eat with me first." "Mr. Qin, how can I accept this?" The boss was obviously very grateful to Qin, but he was really embarrassed. "It's okay." Qin didn't seem to care. Unexpectedly, before the boss could say anything, Suyu stood up and said, "Mr. Qin, you're so generous. You can even give me the noodles. Can you give me the rest?" Qin looked at him coldly. "I can only give you the noodles. As for the rest, don't even think about it." "Ha! I thought you were generous, but it turns out you're also a stingy person. Suyu, don't be childish. Finish eating and get out of here. Don't cause trouble here." Huamin couldn't take it anymore. From the moment she walked in, Suyu had been looking for trouble. Now, he was even mocking Qin. How could she take this lying down? Suyu glanced at Huamin and opened his mouth, but no words came out. Wei Liao pulled Suyu's arm. "Let's go. We still have something to do later." In the end, Suyu didn't continue arguing with Qin and left with Wei Liao. Suyu is that kind of person. Don't lower yourself to his level. When he's childish, he's just like a child. Huamin looked at Qin and said, "Yes." Qin nodded and didn't say anything else. It was supposed to be a happy ramen, but because of Suyu's interference, it was no longer happy. Fortunately, Qin didn't ask much, so Huamin didn't worry too much. The next morning Huamin drove to work. When he arrived at South Side, he saw that the office was filled with thousands of red roses. They covered the entire office. What's going on? Huamin was confused. "I don't know. It was delivered this morning." "It said that it was for you," the nurse said enviously. Huamin felt that other than Suyu, no one else would do something so perverted. So, he angrily called the number in his memory. Suyu was sleeping soundly. Usually, when he was sleeping, no one dared to disturb him. Otherwise, the consequences would be dire. "How many times have I told you not to call me in the morning? Do you want to die?" Suyu cursed with his eyes closed. "Suyu, stop sending flowers. You're too perverted." When he heard Huamin's voice, Suyu immediately woke up. He opened his eyes with a hint of surprise. How did you get my number?" "Bro, that's not the point. The point is, stop sending flowers," Huamin replied angrily. Chapter 400. What's wrong? You don't like it? Whether I like it or not depends on who gave it to me. Suyu, you're the young master of the Su family. Don't do things that will make you lose fans, okay? I don't know what's wrong with you that you can't let go of me. Anyway, you're causing trouble for my work and my life. Please don't do this. Huamin, I'm giving you flowers because I like to give them to you. Suyu didn't say the words, "I like you," out loud in the end. Although he knew that he already liked Huamin, he was still a little embarrassed to confess so directly. "You like to give me flowers, so I like to accept them. What's wrong with you? Let me tell you, if you continue being like this, don't blame me for scratching your stupid Lamborghini." You're welcome to scratch me. Suyut smiled even more happily. Pervert. Huamin hung up the phone fiercely. Ever since Qin Chu was no longer obstructed, Suyu's subordinates found a lot of information about Huamin, including information about when he was young. He also found out that Huamin was actually a person with high EQ and IQ. He became famous at a young age. Unfortunately, Qin Chu's romantic relationship caused a family tragedy. In the end, he gave up his bright future. No wonder Huamin's medical skills were so good. It turned out that he was a medical genius, but he was forced to become a nurse in real life. He also found out that Huamin's favorite restaurant when he was in school was Oaxian's ramen. Huamin had a best friend called Zhu Lingling. She was also his only good friend after so many years. Huamin also had a mother who lived in a poor area and ran a small supermarket. Huamin also had a younger brother who studied at a university in the city. He was a family member that Huamin doted on a lot. Huamin liked to wear fresh clothes. He didn't like to wear makeup. He liked to wear his hair in a ponytail or a bun, or let it down. Huamin had an ex-girlfriend who was an ophthalmologist. They had broken up and gotten married. Huamin was the prettiest girl in her high school class, not because of her looks, but because of her magnanimous personality. He realized that the more he knew, the deeper he fell. He was interested in everything about Huamin. Yesterday, when he was at Oaxian's ramen, he ate for so long, but it wasn't because he wanted to savor the taste of the noodles. Instead, he wanted to experience the youth of Huamin, which he had not participated in during those years. I want to walk the path you once walked, the people you once accompanied, the crazy things you once did, so you suddenly realized, what the fuck? Since when did I become a sentimental artistic youth? Suyu's stubbornness gave Huamin a headache, and he liked to do some extremely childish things. For example, deliberately tailgating, for example, delivering pig trotters in the middle of the night, for example, a bed of roses early in the morning. He thought it was romantic, but to Huamin, it was impossibly childish. Looking at the roses on the floor, Huamin couldn't take it anymore. You guys, take the flowers out and throw them away. Ha! Don't take them away, that would be a waste. Then distribute them to every department. Tell them that it's a benefit for South Side, Huamin ordered. Before the nurses could say anything, Huamin's phone rang. It was a video call. Hey, Mr. Qin. Because they were going to video call, Huamin closed the door to his office. Are you busy? Not yet, I just got here, so I need to organize a lot of documents. I forgot to make you some sugar water this morning, I'll have you bring it over in a bit. It's okay, I have some in my office too. I'll make one myself. Huamin smiled. Behind you, why are there so many flowers? Qin Chu suddenly noticed that Huamin's office had become a sea of flowers. This is a benefit for South Side, it's going to be distributed to every department in a bit. Do all hospitals give out red roses when they give out benefits? Qin Chu asked with a sharp gaze. Chapter 401. Our director has a weird taste, Huamin smiled awkwardly. Qin Chu didn't ask any more questions because he knew how Huamin felt about Suyu, so he wasn't worried. What time do you get off work today? I don't know yet. I took 3 days off, so there's a lot of work waiting for me. Huamin looked at the pile of documents and felt a headache coming on. If you get off work early, let's have dinner together. Okay. Huamin nodded. Remember to drink brown sugar water, Qin Chu reminded her in a serious tone. I know, Tang Sanzang. Huamin knew that Qin Chu was a man of few words, but why did he become Tang Sanzang when it came to her? He was speechless. After hanging up the video call, the two of them went back to work. In the afternoon, Huamin received a notice from the finance department that the engineering department was going to use the Hua Foundation's money to repair the back garden. Huamin's expression changed immediately. He took off his white lab coat and rushed to the engineering department. The manager of the engineering department, Feng Yiqing, was rumored to be deputy director Guo's brother-in-law. He was an arrogant bully. Apparently, he often misused the company's funds. Since the amount wasn't large, Deputy Director Guo turned a blind eye to it. No one else in the hospital dared to report this to President Wu because they were afraid of offending the deputy director. This made him even more arrogant. Director Feng. Huamin knocked on the door. "Hey, Huamin, come in." Feng Yiqing was quite enthusiastic when he saw Huamin. Huamin walked in and asked without delay, "I just received a call from the finance department. They said that you're going to use 3 million yuan from the Hua Foundation to repair the back garden of our hospital. Is that right?" "Yes, that's right. It was an emergency, so I didn't have time to tell you. Actually, according to the normal procedure, I should have told you. After all, you're the president of the Hua Foundation." "I'm sorry, Director Feng, but I didn't approve the funds. Once the Hua Xiqian Foundation is used, it needs to be signed by me or Mr. Hua Xiqian himself. Didn't the finance department tell you?" Yes. You came just in time. You can sign it for me directly," Feng Yiqing said shamelessly. "I don't think you understand what I mean. I don't agree with using the Hua Foundation's money to repair the garden, so I can't approve this money." "Why? Wasn't the Hua Foundation established to contribute to our hospital? I'm not using it for myself. It's for the sake of our nursing home. Look at the lawn in the back garden. It's been trampled. It definitely needs to be replaced. Also, the pavilion and the arch bridge are so old. If our environment isn't up to standard, we'll be laughed at by the industry." Huamin waved his hand and interrupted Feng Yiqing. "I don't think you understand. The Hua Foundation was established by Mr. Hua Xiqian Foundation. It mainly helps the residents who need emergency treatment but can't afford the deposit. It doesn't serve the hospital. Our hospital is a public hospital, so the government will allocate funds to repair it every year. You should ask the deputy director for the money instead of the Hua Foundation." "I know, but my brother-in-law is on a business trip. He's not here. Who am I supposed to ask? How about this? You sign it first, and it should be lent to me. When my brother-in-law comes back, he'll transfer it to you." "I'm sorry, but I can't do that. That's a separate matter. Also, I don't think repairing the back garden is that urgent. It's nothing compared to human lives." "Hey, Xiaohua, that's not right. You're new here, right? I've been working here for almost 7 years. You should know that helping others is helping yourself. It's not good for you to go against me, right?" Feng Yiqing began to threaten Huamin when he saw that Huamin refused to sign the papers. Chapter 402. Huamin smiled slightly. "I've never heard of that before. Also, it's up to me whether or not I can help you. Since I'm the chairman of the Hua Xiqian Foundation, I have to be responsible for every single cent. How about this, why don't you go directly to Mr. Hua Xiqian and see if he agrees? If he agrees, then I have no issues with it. Are you purposely giving me a hard time? I don't even know Mr. Hua Xiqian Foundation." Feng Yiqing thought to himself, who was Hua Xiqian? Even his brother-in-law had to treat him with respect. How could Feng Yiqing have any say in this? If that's the case, then please don't give the finance department a hard time, Director Feng. Let's end this here. After speaking, Huamin turned around and left. Feng Yiqing forcefully knocked on the table and cursed, "Bitch, why are you acting so cocky? Aren't you just a bastard from the Huo family? How arrogant. Let's see how I'll deal with you in the future. In the end, Feng Yiqing's plan to use the Huo family foundation didn't work out. He was even scolded by Huo Min, so of course he was upset. Huo Min, on the other hand, thought that he did the right thing. Although the money belonged to Huo Xiqian, he had the responsibility to decide where the money would go. The money was supposed to be used for official business, but Feng Yiqing was going to use it to repair the garden. What a joke. Head nurse, you did the right thing this time. That Feng Yiqing should be taught a lesson. You don't even know how bad his character is. Not only does he like to embezzle money, but he also takes advantage of us nurses. Whenever he sees which one has a better figure, he'll get stuck and have fat brains. Disgusting. The nurses were extremely happy when they heard that Huo Min had taught Feng Yiqing a lesson. I'm just stating the facts. I have to know where the money will go, and I have to make sure that it's used in the right place. Otherwise, what's the point of establishing this foundation? No one can take advantage of it. Huo Min was a stubborn person with a twisted personality. Once he set his mind on something, he would stick to his decision. Not even 9 bulls could pull him back. Therefore, she did not feel that it was inappropriate to offend the vice principal's brother-in-law. Didn't she also challenge the vice principal during the meeting? If he didn't even care about the vice school head, why would he care about a mere brother-in-law? If she chickened out, would she still be Huo Min? For the entire afternoon, Huo Min's phone was quiet. Qin Chu did not send a single WeChat message. Huo Min always felt that Qin Chu might be angry, because Qin Chu was so smart that he must know the origin of Red Rose. She had lied again. Would Mr. Qin be angry? She thought about it and picked up her phone. She wanted to send a WeChat message to ask, but in the end, she put it down. Huo Min felt that she didn't do it either. She didn't want to tell the truth because she didn't want to aggravate the conflict. Was she supposed to tell Qin Chu that Su Yu was the one who wanted to pursue her and send her flowers? Wouldn't that make Qin Chu even angrier? By the time Huo Min got off work, it was already past 6 p.m. She was stuck in a traffic jam and arrived at Imperial Park at 7:20 p.m. Qin Chu was not home yet. Because it was autumn, the house was cold. She turned on the lights, changed into slippers, and sat on the sofa to wait for Qin Chu to come home so they could have dinner together. There was nothing left at home. She took out her phone and was about to order a fruit pizza to eat with Qin Chu. Before she could order, she received a call from Jixin. Jixin. Sis, are you off work? Yeah, I just got home. What's up? Sis. I have something to tell you, but don't get too excited. Jixin's voice sounded a little off, as if he was hesitating. What's wrong? Huo Min had a bad feeling. Mom just fainted. She's in the first hospital. What? Huo Min panicked. She immediately hung up, put on her clothes, and drove straight to the first hospital. Outside the door, Huo Min saw Jing Jixin's worried face. Jixin, what happened to Mom? Did she slip and fall? No. Jing Jixin shook his head. Then what's going on? Is it Qin Chu? What happened to Qin Chu? Huo Min's heart jumped into his throat when he heard that it had something to do with Qin Chu. Chapter 403. Jing Jixin slowly lowered his head. Qin Chu's mother came to our house and said something to Mom. Mom got agitated and got into an argument with her. In the end, Qin Chu's mother's bodyguard pushed her and she slipped. What? Huo Min's brows furrowed when he heard this, and his heart sank. Qin Chu's mother again, she was like this 7 years ago, and now she was doing it again. Did she really think that his family was that easy to bully? Jixin, did you see it with your own eyes? Huamin asked again. No, I wasn't at home. Auntie Wu was at our house, she said so. Then, Auntie Wu called me, and I came straight to the hospital from school. Huamin didn't say anything, but his expression was terrible. Sis. Yeah. I think. Mom probably found out about you guys, that's why she's so agitated. Yeah. Huamin tried his best to stay calm. So, what are you going to do next? Jing Jixin's voice wasn't very loud. He didn't want to put pressure on his sister, but he didn't know what to do either. He originally wanted to tell his mother about it slowly, but now, he couldn't hide it anymore. But how did Qin Chu's mother find out? Why did she suddenly go to her house to cause trouble? Did Qin Chu come clean with his parents? At this thought, a wave of anger surged up again. Where's Auntie Wu? Oh, she went over there to get some water. She'll be back soon. Less than a minute after Jing Jixin spoke, Auntie Wu came back. She was wearing a flowery shirt, black pants, and canvas shoes. Auntie Wu. Mion's here. Auntie Wu, what happened? Huamin really wanted to know what happened, so he asked. Auntie Wu's eyes flickered, she didn't know what to say. Auntie Wu, just tell me what you saw. Don't hide it from me, or else I'll feel bad. I don't know what's going on with my mom, and I'm really worried. Mion, are you with that son of the Qin family again? Auntie Wu asked in a serious tone. Huamin remained silent, but it was a tacit agreement. It seems that Lady Qin was right. She suddenly came to your house this afternoon. At that time, I was cross-stitching with your mother. She was very aggressive and said a lot of unpleasant things. She said that she was a vixen and that she would raise a vixen to seduce her son. In short, it was very unpleasant. Your mother didn't believe her and argued with her during the confrontation. Don't you know your mother's character? She was so anxious that she wanted to scratch Lady Qin. Then, a tall bodyguard behind her rushed up and pushed her hard. Your mother fell down. They even said that your mother deliberately faked the accident. After that, they drove away. I saw that your mother fell quite badly, so I immediately sent her to the hospital. She's still in the operating room. I wonder how he is now. After hearing Auntie Wu's words, Huamin's heart felt extremely heavy. The tragedy from 7 years ago seemed to be repeating itself. Because of her relationship with Qin Chu, her family was implicated. Her tears fell uncontrollably. She didn't know what to say. She just wished that she was the one lying in the operating room. Sis, don't be sad. I believe that Mom will be fine. Jing Jixin walked up and wiped his sister's tears with a tissue. Mion, I don't want to scold you, but why couldn't you have dated anyone? Why did you have to go down the same path as before? It's not like you don't know what kind of people the Qin family is. They're a rich family that kills without batting an eyelid. Why are you so stupid? Auntie Wu criticized. Huamin didn't say anything, she just cried. Jing Jixin interrupted, Auntie Wu, it's already happened. We can't change it. You can't blame my sister. She doesn't have the ability to predict the future. If she knew that my mother would be like this, she wouldn't want it to happen. What you're saying will only make her feel worse. You're right, then I won't say anything. Anyways, you're a grown-up now. Think about it. Auntie Wu turned her head away from Huamin. Bro, did I do something wrong again? Huamin looked up at his brother with tears streaming down his face. Chapter 404. Sis, please don't say that. I'm not blaming you, and no one is saying that you're wrong. Don't add more burden to yourself, let's wait until Mom wakes up, okay? Huamin covered his face and nodded. 2 hours later, the door to the OR opened. Who is the patient's family? I am. Huamin walked over. The patient's lumbar spine is injured, and we need to put in 4 steel nails. Are you using domestic ones or imported ones? Is there a difference? Jing Jixin asked, confused. Before the doctor could answer, Huamin immediately said, imported ones, we'll use imported ones, including the medicine. Okay, then go and pay the surgery fee. 100,000 first, we'll add more if it's not enough. Then, the doctor turned around and walked back in. 100,000. That's daylight robbery. Auntie Wu mumbled on the side. Then, she pulled Huamin aside and said, don't listen to the doctors here, domestic and imported drugs are the same, they're just scamming money. It's not the same, Auntie Wu. I worked at the first hospital before, and I know that even if it's the same domestic drug, it will have different effects if it's not made by the same manufacturer. My mom's health is the most important thing right now, we can always make more money. Then, Huamin hurried downstairs to pay the bill. Your sister sure is different now that she's hooked up with a rich man. I was wondering why she didn't like my Liang last time, Auntie Wu said sourly. Auntie Wu, my sister isn't hooking up with a rich man. She just got back together with her ex-boyfriend, and they're very close. If it weren't for my dad's accident, they would have gone abroad together. It's not my sister's fault. Jing Jixin was very protective of his sister. He never wanted anyone to say anything bad about his sister. He always felt that it wasn't easy for his sister to raise him. She gave up so much for this family, and shouldn't have to bear all these ridiculous accusations. After Huamin paid the surgery fee and came back, his phone rang. It was Qin Chu. For some reason, she felt guilty when she saw Qin Chu's name at this sensitive time. So, she subconsciously hung up. Qin Chu called again. She hung up and turned off her phone. Sorry, the number you have dialed is unavailable. Qin Chu was slightly startled when he heard the notification tone. He had just gotten through, but Huamin had hung up on him. Now, she had turned off her phone. Could it be a meeting? Or did his phone run out of battery? He thought doubtfully. When Huamin returned to the operating room, he saw the attending doctor talking to Jing Jixin. What happened? Sis, you came back at the right time. The doctor said that Mom needs a blood transfusion now, but the blood bank is in a state of emergency. It will take too long to transfer the blood. Since both of our immediate relatives are here, we can donate blood for Mom and save a lot of time. Sure, where are we going to draw blood? Huamin asked. The consultation room at the side will do. There will be a professional nurse to collect your blood. Then, Huamin and Jing Jixin went to the clinic on the side. You guys, we want to collect blood for my mother's surgery. You know the criteria for blood donation, right? Pregnant women and those within a year of childbirth are not allowed. Anemia is not allowed. Colds are not allowed. Infectious diseases are not allowed. Recent surgeries are not allowed. Cardiovascular and cerebrovascular diseases are not allowed. High blood pressure and coronary heart disease are not allowed. Recent blood donation records are also not allowed. The nurse on duty said a bunch of things. Jing Jixin suddenly patted his head. I just took cold medicine yesterday, am I okay? No, the nurse said with a straight face. Jixin, go back and watch the door. I'll do it, I meet the criteria. As a medical staff member, Huamin knew the criteria, so he sat down and waited for the nurse to draw his blood. Frustrated, Jing Jixin turned around and walked back to the door of the operating room. Do you know what your blood type is? The nurse asked as she tied a rubber tube around Huamin's arm. I do, I may be. Huamin was full of confidence. Ub. But my medical record shows that the patient's blood type is B, the nurse said with wide eyes. Hua Min's expression changed slightly. That's impossible, take a closer look. Chapter 405. That's right, there's no mistake, it's B. If it was any other blood type, our blood bank would have it. Recently, there have been a lot of patients with B. That's why the blood bank is running low. Hua Min retracted her arm, feeling her mind go blank. All these years, she never paid attention to her mother's blood type and always thought that it was AB or a type. Because Hua Min's blood type was AB, she was very sure that it was AB. The hospital had done many checkups. As for Hua Jinghai's blood type, she took a look at his medical record last time at the hospital. Hua Jinghai's blood type was B. In other words, her mother was either A or AB. Because only a combination of A and AB and B could give birth to a child with AB blood type. A combination of B and B blood type parents could give birth to a child with B blood type or O blood type. They would never give birth to a child with AB blood type. Yours won't do, why don't you call your other relatives, the nurse said to Hua Min. She slowly got up and calmly thought about all of this. Was she not Hua Jinghai's child? Was she Uncle Jing's biological daughter? However, as soon as this thought popped up in her mind, she immediately denied it. That was because she had seen Uncle Jing's blood type on his death report. Uncle Jing's blood type was also B. So, what the hell was her AB blood type? She walked to the door of the operating room in a daze. Sis, you're done with the blood draw already. Does it hurt? Jing Jixin asked. She knew Jixin's blood type very well. Last time, when Jixin was hospitalized in a car accident, she knew that Jixin's blood type was also B. Therefore, she was the only one in the family who was different. If her mother didn't need a blood transfusion this time, she would have thought that her mother's blood type was A or AB, the same blood type as her. Sis. What's wrong? Jing Jixin called out a few more times when he saw his sister spacing out. Yeah. You spaced out. What's wrong? Did you draw blood? No. Hua Min shook her head blankly. She had always been calm when things happened and never lost her ability to think. However, this incident hit her so hard that she couldn't think straight. Why? Do you not meet the requirements? Hua Min didn't answer Jixin's question. Instead, he snapped back to reality and said, I'm going to the OB/GYN department to talk to my colleagues. I remember some of them are B grade. After speaking, Hua Min turned around and left. Hearing that Hua Min needed to donate blood, Huang Yu and another colleague, Zhang Kaiyun, came over without hesitation. It just so happened that both of them had type B blood, which solved the problem of Hua Min's mother needing a blood transfusion. Senior sister, don't you think our hospital is too pretentious? There's no blood in the blood bank. They don't usually prepare more, but at the critical moment, their own family members have to donate blood. Then, they don't pay a single cent less for hospitalization. How black-hearted. If President Wu heard this, he would be the first to fire you, Zhang Kaiyun said with a smile. President Wu is here. I definitely can't say anything. I have to flatter him. No matter what Huang Yu and Zhang Kaiyun said, Hua Min seemed to be absent-minded. Senior sister, what's wrong with you today? You don't seem to be yourself. Huang Yu poked Hua Min with her finger. Oh, maybe it's because my mom is cleaning up. I'm too worried and nervous. Don't worry, she'll be fine. God helps the good, Huang Yu comforted. Hua Min nodded. After Huang Yu donated blood, she went to the door of the OR. She was happy to see Jing Jixin. Don't worry, Auntie will be fine. Thank you. Jing Jixin nodded. After another hour or so, the door to the OR slowly opened. How is it? Doctor, how's my mom? Huamin and Jing Jixin rushed over. Chapter 406. The patient isn't in any danger. She just needs to recuperate after the surgery. Let's observe her for a while and send her straight to the VIP room. Yang Meirong's face was pale from the surgery. It was heartbreaking to see her like this. There was still anesthesia left, but she showed no signs of waking up. Huamin gave Jing Jixin some money and asked him to take Auntie Wu out for a meal. He would stay here and take care of her. Sis, what do you want to eat? I'll get some takeout for you. Huamin shook her head in exhaustion. I don't want to eat anything, I don't have an appetite. Okay then, I'll come back and take your place. Jing Jixin then took Auntie Wu, who had been busy all day, out for a meal. Huamin held on to Yang Meirong's hand, feeling extremely conflicted. If Yang Meirong wasn't her biological mother, then who was? Or, other than Hu Zhenghai and Jingde, did she have another biological father? Yang Meirong never mentioned it. After her mother woke up, Huamin decided to investigate this matter. After living for 24 years, she couldn't calm down when she suddenly realized that there might be more to her birth than meets the eye. However, regardless of whether Yang Meirong was her biological mother or not, she still raised her. Seeing her lying on the hospital bed and suffering because of her made her heart ache. Mom. I hope you're safe and get better soon. Huamin looked at the woman on the bed with tears in her eyes. Jing Jixin came back half an hour later. Auntie Wu saw that Yang Meirong was out of danger, so she went straight home. Sis, I'll take care of Mom. You should get some rest. I'm fine. Go back to sleep. You have school tomorrow. My classes aren't that busy. You still have work to do. You can't handle it alone. Jing Jixin felt bad for his sister and handed her a lunchbox. Here's congee and pickles. Don't eat too much. Your body can't take it. I don't feel like eating. Jixin, you take care of Mom. I'll go buy some food for my colleagues. After leaving the VIP room, Huamin went out and ordered a lot of food from a restaurant. Huang Yu and Zhang Kaiyun each donated 400 cubic centimeters to Yang Meirong. They were very generous. In Huang Yu's words, she said, "When I drew my blood, I was dazed. Everything went black and I almost fainted." After all, she was a girl. 400 yuan was quite a lot. However, since their relationship was good, it was impossible to give him money. That would be an insult to him. Huamin bought a lot of delicious food and some supplements for his two colleagues. Huamin took the opportunity to chat with the head nurse, Su Yan, at the entrance of the OB/GYN department. Head nurse, do you think that a type B father and a type B mother would never have a type AB child? Of course, AB and B can only give birth to AB or an OB. Isn't this something you should have learned in your first year? You're a straight A student. Why are you asking me about such a small matter? Chapter 407. Qin Manor, the majestic mansion was brightly lit. As soon as Qin Chu walked in, he saw that the living room was a mess. Qin Yuman was sitting on the sofa, smoking a cigarette without saying a word. His mother stood at the door with a suitcase in her hand, as if she was about to leave. Mom, what are you doing? Qin Chu frowned, as if he didn't understand what his parents were doing. Over the years, although his mother was a bit overbearing and unreasonable, she still knew what was important, and what was important was that his father had the final say in major decisions. His mother only made decisions in their daily lives. Qin Chu couldn't figure out what was going on that would cause them to fight like this. even though they had never fought before. Son, you're back just in time. I don't want to live with your dad anymore, I want a divorce. As soon as Lady Qin saw her son come back, she immediately put on a sad act. She had tears in her eyes and looked extremely wronged. What's the reason? Your dad said that you wanted to resign and that he approved it, but how could I agree? You two didn't even discuss such a big thing with me. You really don't think of me as a part of this family. Mom, this is the company's business, Qin Chu defended himself. What company? Isn't the company our family? Anyways. I told you, you're our only son. You can't leave GK, and you can't leave us. We've already tolerated you moving out, but how could you leave us? I'm guessing that your dad must be up to something. Maybe he has a mistress or an illegitimate child. That's why he's treating us so coldly. Don't slander me. Qin Yumin was so angry that his fingers trembled slightly. He agreed to Qin Chu's resignation only because he was angry. How could he give up on their father-son relationship? Mom, my dad isn't that kind of person. You've been married to him for so many years, you should know him better than I do. Don't say hurtful things so easily. The person who said it didn't mean it, but it hurt the person who heard it. Qin Chu always thought that his mother was a sharp-tongued person. She was in the right and didn't show mercy. All these years, her father had always been good to her mother. He didn't fuss over small things with her. Now that he was old, his chastity was at stake. He was labeled by his mother as someone who kept a mistress and an illegitimate child. How could a person like his father not take it? That's hard to say. Who doesn't know that he's scheming and shrewd? I won't be fooled by his facade, Lady Qin said seriously. If you want to leave, go ahead. I won't stop you. I've had enough of these years. Qin Yumin waved his hand. He seemed to have lost his temper. All right, son, listen to him. He's finally telling the truth, right? Are you trying to kick me out of the family? All these years, even if I haven't done anything for this family, I've still worked hard. I even gave birth to Chu for the Qin family. Qin Yumin, how can you treat me like this? Don't you have any shame? Lady Qin had no intention of leaving. She pointed at Qin Yumin and yelled at him like a shrew. Mom, stop it, you guys. Chu, look at your dad. Lady Qin didn't seem to let it go. Mom, stop acting. I know the two of you better than you know yourselves. Stop acting in front of me, there are too many flaws. Also, the two of you are doing this because you don't want me to leave the company, right? Okay, I didn't say I had to leave. I can stay as long as my dad doesn't interfere with any of my decisions in the future. You don't have to put on such an act. Your son isn't that stupid. Qin Chu leaned against the door and looked at his parents helplessly as he spoke his mind. If something really happened to that girl's mother, it's not something that money can solve. Don't forget, your son is married to that girl, so you're in-laws with that girl's mother. I don't want to acknowledge that poor in-law, I'll be laughed at if I tell people about it. That woman was so flirtatious when she was young. She sang a few songs, acted in a few dramas, and used her looks to seduce that pervert Hu Zhenghai. What happened in the end? She was toyed with for nothing, didn't she? She got pregnant, didn't give her money, and didn't acknowledge that damned girl's identity. Who in the neighborhood wouldn't laugh at her? If it were me, I wouldn't have the face to live in this world. I'd just kill myself by slamming my head against a big poplar tree. You're always so harsh with your words. Qin Yumin looked at his wife helplessly. Lady Qin wasn't born into a rich family, but she was still a high-ranking official. Qin Chu's grandparents were both leaders of the finance bureau, so they came from wealthy families. 5 years ago, Chin Chu's grandfather passed away from an illness, and his grandmother emigrated to New Zealand with his uncle. Lady Chin was born with a sense of superiority, so she always looked down on poor women with bad reputations. She was biased against young Meirong, which was why she was so rude to her. Chin Chu sped all the way to Huamin's house. He knocked on the door for a long time, but no one opened it. He called Huamin's phone, but it was still turned off. "Who are you looking for?" Auntie Wu walked out of her house after dinner and saw someone standing in front of Yang Meirong's house. Chapter 409. I'm looking for Huamin. She's not home. Is there anyone else at home? Chin Chu asked. No one is home. You must be Mian's boyfriend, right? Auntie Wu asked in an unfriendly tone. Yeah. Chin Chu nodded. You're just in time. When you get home, you better talk to your mom and tell her not to come here and cause trouble. Meirong has been raising 2 kids all by herself for years. It's been hard on her, and she's not in good health. Her blood pressure is very high, and she usually pays attention to her health. Now that she's here, she's bringing bodyguards and pushing and shoving, and finally, she's hospitalized. After that, your mom left with her bodyguards and didn't even pay for her medical bills. I really don't know what Mian is after. She's such a good girl, it's a pity that she's with you. Auntie Wu didn't know what Chin Chu did for a living, but seeing that he drove a luxurious car and was dressed well, she guessed that he was rich. So, Auntie Wu didn't care too much and pointed at Chin Chu as she rambled on. Then can you tell us where they are right now? She's hospitalized. Mian and Jixin are guarding her at the hospital. Her condition is quite serious. The surgery lasted for a few hours, and the doctor said that they still need to put in nails. I saw with my own eyes your mom and her bodyguards shove Meirong. If we go to court, I won't be afraid of you. I'll testify for her. Your mom is a woman who dresses well and is pretty, but I can't believe she's so uncouth. Also, if your parents didn't agree, why did you bother Mian? You know, everyone's not happy about this. Auntie Wu was still rambling on, but Chin Chu nodded politely and said, thank you. Then, he drove straight to the hospital. Other than the first hospital, he couldn't think of anywhere else to go. As expected, when he arrived, he easily found the information in the VIP ward of the first hospital. When Chin Chu arrived, Huamin was sitting in a chair by the door. He was resting his head on his hand, deep in thought. Mian. He called out softly. Huamin slowly raised his head. The moment he saw Chin Chu, his eyes were cold, without a trace of warmth. Why didn't you answer the phone? Chin Chu walked over and asked. I don't want to. Why didn't you tell me such a big thing happened? What can I do if I tell you? Can you help my mom push your mom hard and make it even? Huamin asked coldly. Chin Chu fell silent. He had seen such a domineering Huamin before. It was 7 years ago when they had broken up. At that time, any hurtful words could be said. Chin Chu raised his hand and grabbed Huamin's shoulder. Mian, don't be like this. I didn't want things to turn out this way either. Isn't it because of you? If you didn't tell your parents, they wouldn't have come to my house to cause trouble. I've been telling you about a secret marriage, but you think I'm bullshitting, right? Huamin was slightly angry. No, I just didn't expect her to be so impulsive. I just want to be with you openly. I don't want to be in secret for the rest of my life. What's wrong with being in secret? I'm not afraid, so what are you afraid of? It's better to be in secret than to cause trouble like this, right? Do you know what a stupid thing your mom did? She brought bodyguards to my house to bully my mom. Now she's in surgery and has a lot of nails in her body. She hasn't woken up yet. What about your mom? She's having afternoon tea at home right now, right? Mian. I'll take care of this. Take care of it. How do you want to solve it? Tell me. When Auntie wakes up, I'll apologize to her personally. I'll take all the blame. Chin-Chu felt that this whole thing started because of him, so he was willing to take all the blame. You're funny, you're not the one in the wrong, why would you take all the blame? Huamin's lips curled up into a cold smile. The unfamiliar Huamin made Chin-Chu feel scared. Mian, listen to me, this is what I think. Chin-Chu patiently pulled Huamin aside and tried to explain. To his surprise, Huamin suddenly pushed Chin-Chu away, looked into his eyes, and said, Chin-Chu, let's get a divorce. What did you say? Chin-Chu's body trembled. Chapter 410. I said, let's get a divorce. No way, don't even think about it. Chin-Chu immediately denied. From the moment he registered his marriage with Huamin, he had never thought about getting a divorce. I'm not asking for your opinion. Whether you agree or not, I will first separate from you. Then, in half a year, I will apply for a divorce. That's all. After speaking, Huamin stood up and was about to enter the hospital room. Honey. Chin-Chu's heart ached as he grabbed onto Huamin's arm. Let go of me. Huamin's voice was sharp and cold. He was completely different from his usual self. Don't follow me in. My mom hasn't woken up yet. She doesn't want to see your face. After speaking, Huamin turned around and entered the hospital room. Chin-Chu stood at the door of the hospital room in a daze. He felt a slight pain in his heart. This was the last thing he wanted to face, but it still happened. 7 years ago, Huamin's family suddenly had an accident and she didn't want to go to the US. In the end, she heartlessly broke up with him. He went to the US alone and refused to come home for 7 years. He didn't even come back for his grandfather's funeral. Who would have thought that today, tragedy would repeat itself, and all of these tragedies originated from his arrogant and rude mother. Chin-Chu walked out of the hospital with a heavy heart. He deposited a $500,000 deposit at the front desk downstairs. Then, he drove out of the hospital. Where are you? At the police station. Come out for a drink. Now. Gao Ran was confused. Yes, now. Okay, I'll come over as soon as I'm done with this theft case. Wait for me. Then, Gao Ran hurriedly hung up the phone. At night, his mother showed no signs of waking up, so Huamin asked the doctor for advice. The doctor said that her body was weak and that she might have to wait a little longer, but her vitals had stabilized. When Huamin came back, he didn't dare to enter the hospital room. He felt guilty towards his mother. She stood at the corner of the hallway with a cigarette in her hand. This was a Russian brand. It was brown, very thin, and very strong. Huamin was not addicted to smoking, but she liked the smell of cigarettes. It was a little hobby. Therefore, she would often put a pack of cigarettes in her bag. When she was stressed or tired, she would take it out and smell it. There was no need to ignite it, but today was different. She found a lighter, lit a cigarette, and held it between her right index and middle finger. Then, he took a big gulp. Because he didn't smoke, such a sudden movement caused his lungs to be unable to adapt. He started coughing violently. Sis, do you smoke? Jing Jixin looked around before he finally found his sister. Seeing his sister smoking, he immediately snatched the cigarette from her hand, threw it on the ground, and stomped on it a few times. Huamin didn't say anything. His eyes were unfocused. Sis, if you want to cry, just cry. I know you're upset. Jing Jixin looked at his sister with heartache. He also wanted to cry. He knew that his sister was in the most difficult situation. She loved her mother, and she also loved brother Chin Chu. However, she couldn't be both loyal and filial. This was the most difficult choice. 7 years ago, his sister was forced to make a choice. 7 years later, she had to do it again. Normal people wouldn't be able to take this kind of blow. I'm not upset, I'm fine. Hua Min's voice was a bit hoarse. Sis, don't blame yourself. Mom's fine, her life isn't in danger. Jing Jixin comforted. Hua Min ran her hands through her long hair and smiled weakly. Jixin, do you think your sister is too useless? Why would you say that? Jing Jixin didn't understand what his sister meant. Hua Min patted Jing Jixin's shoulder. Go back and watch Mom. I'm going out for a bit. Then, Hua Min hurried downstairs. Jing Jixin looked at his sister's back, a bit worried. Qin Manor, who are you looking for? The housekeeper opened the door and saw a young woman. I'm looking for Madam. Hua Min smiled slightly. Madam, someone's looking for you. Coming. Lady Qin had been up all night. Just as she took a shower and was about to put on a face mask, she heard someone looking for her. She came out in a bathrobe, and the moment she saw Hua Min, her expression changed drastically. Long time no see. Hua Min looked at Lady Qin and smiled like a flower. Chapter 411. What are you doing here? When Lady Qin saw Hua Min, she felt uncomfortable. Although they hadn't seen each other for 7 years, Hua Min's face hadn't changed much. Other than the fact that he no longer looked immature, his face was still delicate and pretty, even a little cold. People who didn't know him would think that Hua Min was the cold and arrogant type, but in reality, she was even colder than that. She was the type that could not be more arrogant. She acted according to the rules, was casual, and was willful. 7 years ago, Lady Qin strongly objected to her son's relationship with Hua Min, and the whole school knew about it. Hua Min and she had a few confrontations, so even though they hadn't seen each other for many years, she still couldn't forget Hua Min's face. Hua Min ignored Lady Qin's words and walked over to sit on the leather sofa in the living room. Then, he slowly leaned against it. I'm curious. I was the one who decided on my relationship with Chin Chu. Why do you keep looking for my mom? Just because she's poor and doesn't have a higher status than you, does she deserve to be bullied? Hua Min's voice was cold. It's the father's fault for not teaching his son well. You didn't have a father since you were young, so if I didn't look for your mom, who would I look for? Don't tell me I'm looking for you. If you were such a sensible girl, would you? Would he still do something so shameless? As soon as this topic was brought up, Lady Qin became very agitated, and her mouth was full of nasty words. Hua Min sneered, how am I shameless? You seduced my son and you're shameless. You seduced men at such a young age. Aren't you just like your mom? But seducing men is also a skill. If you hadn't seduced Chin Chu's father, would he have taken the initiative to marry you? Upon hearing this, Lady Qin's expression changed drastically. She pointed at Hua Min and yelled, you little bitch, what nonsense are you talking about? Do you think that we, the noble families, will be the same as you lowly commoners? Hua Min stared at Lady Qin and said word by word, that's hard to say. Maybe you rich and powerful people like you are doing some despicable and shameless things behind the scenes. You can't even compare to us lowly commoners who are open and above board. This is called rotten on the inside but rotten on the outside. Don't talk nonsense with me. Let me tell you, don't think that the Qin family will accept you just because you and my son are married. Dream on. Hua Min shook his head, no, you're wrong. The truth is, I don't care if the Qin family recognizes me or not. It doesn't matter to me at all. What I care about is that Qin Chu recognizes me, and the law recognizes me. We didn't even get a prenuptial agreement. If I file for divorce now, I'll probably get half of GK's assets. TSK. What a great idea. Upon hearing Huamin's words, Lady Qin's face turned pale. She knew that since her idiot son had already gotten married to Qin Chu, there was no way he would get a prenuptial agreement. In other words, even if they filed for divorce now, they would have to pay Huamin a huge amount of alimony, or at least half of their assets. See, I knew it. I told you, you don't really love Chu. You're only after our family's money. Now you're finally showing your true colors, aren't you? Lady Qin accused Huamin of being greedy, and her face turned livid with anger. Huamin replied calmly, whether I love Qin Chu or not is my own business. I don't need to prove it to anyone. Whether I'm greedy or not is my own business, and I don't need to explain it to you. You seem to hate me, don't you? I hate you. There's no woman in the world that I hate more than you. Lady Qin looked at Huamin with disgust, not hiding her true thoughts at all. So, since you hate me so much, I have a better idea. Huamin smiled slightly. What idea? Isn't it just divorcing my son and splitting his assets? We have our own legal team, and we won't let you get what you want. Lady Qin looked at Huamin's smile and had a bad feeling. She felt that this woman wasn't as simple as she seemed. Chapter 412. No, that's what I thought at first, but I suddenly changed my mind. Since you hate me so much, I won't divorce you. Not only will I not divorce you, but I will also live under your nose for the rest of my life. I won't let you get rid of me for the rest of your life. You can live in pain for the rest of your life. I think that's the best outcome for you. What did you say? After Lady Qin heard what Huamin said, her eyes widened in disbelief. She couldn't believe that this seemingly weak and delicate little girl could be so vicious when she said those words. Of course, she thought that Huamin was too vicious. 7 years ago, although they had crossed swords a few times, Huamin had never said such harsh words to her. Even back then, when her stepfather passed away, she never really said anything about Qin Chu's mother. After all, at the time, she felt that she was the one at fault, so she felt deeply guilty and blamed herself. But now, things were different. Lady Qin had gone too far, and she could already feel it. When she was unhappy, she would take it out on her mother. In the end, her mother was so angry that she was hospitalized and had to undergo major surgery. This time, she wasn't going to be soft-hearted, and she wasn't going to hold back with her words. She was going to do whatever she wanted. As expected, Lady Qin was so angry that she wanted to tear Huamin into pieces. I really didn't expect you to be so vicious at such a young age. How could my son be blinded by you? Lady Qin felt a chill run down her spine. When she thought about what Huamin just said, goosebumps appeared on her back. If what she said was true, and she had to see her for the rest of her life, then she might as well be dead. I'm vicious. Oh, no, compared to you, I'm still a little worse. You brought your bodyguards to my house and arrogantly bullied my widowed mother. That's vicious. You think you're using your power to bully others. But I believe in karma and retribution. I will slowly pay you back for what you did to my mother. Please, enjoy it. After speaking, Huamin stood up and walked away. Stop right there, I'm not done yet. Lady Qin was so angry that she lunged forward to grab Huamin's arm. Huamin nimbly dodged, but she slipped and fell to the ground with her back facing the sky. Ah, someone come, call the police. This woman is hitting me. Lady Qin immediately lay on the ground and wailed. Huamian stopped in her tracks and turned around to look at her, her eyes cold. Are you sure you want to call the police? Aren't you afraid that it'll affect your company, your husband and sons of your life? I'm's your life's as my life's as long as you send me to jail. And Chin choose what's more, what it is. Chin choose she. You. Mrs. Chin felt as if there was a heavy weight on her chest that she couldn't release. What should we do? Should we call the police? The housekeeper panicked when she saw Chin Chu's wife lying on the ground and yelling about calling the police. Lady Chin wasn't stupid. She thought about what Huamin said and thought it made sense. After weighing the pros and cons, she decided not to call the police. Even if she did, it would be pointless. In the end, her son would be in a difficult position. You win, woman. Let's wait and see, Lady Chin scolded viciously. I'll be waiting, Huamin snorted and turned to leave the Chin manor. As soon as Huamin left, Lady Chin asked the housekeeper to call Chin Chu. Chin Chu was drinking with Gao Ran when he picked up the phone with a gloomy expression. Young master, bad news. A woman just came and got into a fight with Ma Am. She even pushed Ma Am to the ground. Ma Am is very agitated. That woman seems to be your girlfriend or something. Come back and take a look. Where's my mom? Chin Chu wasn't surprised at all, because he knew his mother's temper too well. She's resting in the bedroom. Give her the phone, Chin Chu ordered. Son, you don't know, but Huamin just came to our house and threatened me. Not only did she yell at me, but she also hit and pushed me. That evil woman, you can't be with her anymore, do you hear me? Did she come to our house? Chin Chu's eyes softened when he heard Huamin's name. Chapter 413. She really came. I didn't lie to you. That woman is outrageous. Lady Chin rambled on. Chin Chu was silent for a long time before he quietly said, Mom, I love her very much. Why are you so useless? Do you know what she said to me? She said she married you and divorced you because she wanted to get a share of your assets. It would be great if that was the case. I have plenty of money. If she loves money, I can give her as much as she wants, as long as she doesn't leave, Chin Chu slowly said. That woman also said that she suddenly decided not to divorce me because she wants to piss me off. She's going to be my enemy for the rest of my life. Tell me, how evil is she? She's so young, but she's already so evil. What did our Chin family do to deserve this? Son, how can you like a woman like her? There are so many women in the world, but you don't want them. Why do you want to go back to the same old woman? Do you want to piss me off? Lady Chin originally wanted to complain to her son about Huamin's evilness, but to her surprise, her son was so disappointing. She said, she's not going to divorce me. Chin Chu's eyes flashed with a hint of surprise, and the tone of his voice changed slightly as he held the phone. Yeah, she's trying to piss me off. Her parents didn't teach her well, she's so uncultured. Son, listen to me, don't be with her anymore. Hurry up and get a divorce. We have a team of lawyers. When the time comes, we'll frame her as having an affair and make her leave with nothing. Lady Chin rambled on. However, Chin Chu wasn't listening to her at all. There was only one key word in his mind. Huamin said she wasn't going to divorce him, no matter what her intentions were, it was a good thing that she wasn't going to divorce him. Chin Chu felt a lot more at ease. Mom. Huamin is your only daughter-in-law. You have to treat her well. After speaking, Chin Chu immediately hung up the phone. What? I have to treat her well. Are you trying to piss me off? Hello? Hello. Lady Qin yelled on the other end of the phone. But the other end hung up. By the time she tried calling back, Qin Chu had already set it so that she couldn't get through. Lady Qin was so angry that she complained to the housekeeper for the whole night. When Qin Yumin returned, she told him what had happened. After hearing this, Qin Yumin said in a serious tone, "I think the reason why this matter worsened was because you went to her house and caused trouble first. I heard that her mother was seriously injured. I also think that you went a little overboard. It's not strange that she treated you this way." "What are you talking about? Why are you speaking for an outsider?" "I'm not helping outsiders. I'm just stating facts." Qin Yumin sighed. "What are you talking about? The truth is that the little vixen came to show off in front of me. She even said that she would live under my nose for the rest of her life." "How shameless!" Lady Qin screamed. "Calm down, it's not good to calm down. She challenged me like this, but I'm not afraid of her. I want her to regret messing with me." Lady Qin was a hot-tempered woman. After being provoked by Huamin, she immediately became furious. She was determined to fight to the death with Huamin. She didn't even think about what she did wrong. That night, after leaving the Qin manor, Huamin didn't go back to the hospital. Instead, she wandered down the street in a beige windbreaker. The autumn night was very cool. Sometimes, a cold wind would blow. At this moment, she didn't know where she should go. She didn't want to go back to Imperial Park. There was no one in the courtyard either. Her mother and Jixin were both at the hospital. "Sis, where are you?" Jixin called. "Outside." "Sis, our mother is awake." "Come back," Jing Jixin said anxiously. Chapter 4:14. "Okay, take care of her for now." After hanging up, Huamin sighed slightly. She was a little scared. She didn't know how to face her mother. She wasn't afraid of being scolded, but she was afraid of her mother's silent complaints. That was scarier than any words. Huamin involuntarily walked to the entrance of Seductive Fox nightclub. The last time she came here, she was here to pick up Zhu Lingling. In the end, a war broke out, and she ended up in court. This time, because she had nowhere else to go, she had walked in by accident. The first floor was a bar. It was more than 500 square meters in size, and the loud music was deafening. "Pretty lady, what would you like to drink?" the waiter asked politely. "A dozen Budweiser, thank you," Huamin said faintly. "Okay, please wait a moment." Not long after, the waiter came up with beer bottles. "Do you want me to open them?" "Open them all." Huamin nodded. "Okay." The waiter opened all 12 bottles of beer for Huamin. She sat at a wooden square table in the southeast corner of the bar. Not far away, in the middle of the stage, was a group of beautiful Russian women pole dancing. Around the dance floor were many men and women dancing to the loud music. Huamin looked at the lively scene and felt even more depressed. She suddenly remembered a song, Leaves, by Ah Sang. There were 2 lines in the song: "Loneliness is a party is the loneliness of a group of people." Perhaps the people here all felt lonely, so they came out to get drunk in the dark. Huamin was drinking a bottle of beer when she suddenly heard a man's voice behind her. "Pretty lady, are you alone?" Huamin turned around to see a middle-aged man in a white shirt and black pants. He looked elegant and had a smile on his face. Huamin glanced at him but didn't respond. Then, she turned back to continue drinking. "Is there something you're unhappy about? Why did you order so much?" The man didn't seem to give up. He walked over and sat down in front of Huamin's table. Huamin still didn't say anything. The man raised his hand and made a sound. The waiter immediately walked over. "Sir, how may I help you?" A bottle of Jack Denny, 2 fruit platters, and some snacks. Yes, sir. Please wait a moment. After the waiter left, the man looked at Huamin with interest and said with a smile, I like beautiful women like you the most. Huamin glanced at him in disgust. I hate beasts like you who lose girls in nightclubs. Beast in human clothing. Me? The man was obviously a little surprised. Could it be me? Huamin replied coldly. Ha! That's a good word. It's really apt to describe me. The man smiled as if he did not care. Sir, here's your drink. After a short while, the waiters came in one after another with wine and fruits, as well as many plates of snacks. Beauty, shall I treat you to a drink? In front of Huamin, the man opened the bottle of imported wine, mixed some ice and black tea, and poured 2 glasses. He poured one of the glasses for Huamin. I like Budweiser. Huamin didn't look at him, and instead looked straight ahead. The man carefully looked at Huamin's side profile. Under the light, he actually thought that this woman was quite interesting. Most of the women in nightclubs dressed too revealing and sexy, so when he saw Huamin, who was wearing a beige windbreaker, jeans, and heels, with her hair in a bun, his eyes lit up. She was dressed casually, but she looked very intellectual. Beauty, let's get to know each other. Is this my business card? The man took out a golden business card from his pocket and pushed it over. Pushing it over, Huamian glanced at it casually and smiled. You're an employee of GK. Huamin looked at her and finally smiled. Yes, nice to meet you. Let me introduce myself. I'm Wang Tao, the Deputy Director of GK's IT department. Nice to meet you. Oh, Mr. Wang, nice to meet you. I'm the wife of GK's CEO, Mr. Qin Chu, Huamin. The middle-aged man's expression changed upon hearing this, and then he laughed out loud. Beauty, don't joke around. I'm serious. How about, you ask your president? Huamin raised the wine bottle in his hand and smiled mysteriously. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.